couple of yesterday afternoon, the water started rising again. Well, the road was open, but the water started coming back over and people run off the road and so on. So if you see water on the road, please turn around. Don't run off in it. As we keep saying here, turn around, don't drown. And that's what we're really pushing on right now, because this high water is very dangerous right here.
And this is kind of a ground view of Hopkinsville that was taken on Friday, coming in from our Fox weather team out there. Does each situation like this kind of serve as maybe a learning experience for how to prepare and respond to situations like this? Because you did speak about, the flood several decades ago, and I'm sure that was a learning experience. So is this one as well?
Yes, this one as well is a learning experience. Me and the fire chief and emergency management, Randy Graham, and county judge have already been surveying and writing things down, what we can do different, how we can make it a little bit better, and where we're looking at on our water retention lakes and stuff like that, what we're going to do different on that in the winter and the spring, since with storm water. We're trying to say, okay, we can do this different or that, keep the level flow, but we do not want anybody's homes to flood right there. That's a view right there on Marietta Drive there in Hopkinsville, right here off the Fort Campbell Boulevard, right there, So, we got a lot of rain right now.
And it's hard to believe that what we're looking at is some of the downtown area here. But for folks who are not familiar with Hopkinsville, with Christian County, Kentucky, can you tell everyone more about it, where it's located, who lives there, that kind of thing?
We're located right here on the borderline of Tennessee, right here. We're Clarksville, Tennessee, right outside of Nashville, about 45 minutes out of Nashville. And as far as I'm concerned, it's the best place in the world to live. I lived here for 54 years. I don't think there's no other place to live in Hopkinsville. But this water that you're seeing is something that we don't see every day. And I'm thankful we don't see it every day. But we have a lot going on with it, and we're wanting everyone just remain calm about the water. We are working through it very quickly, and like I say, there's no other place like Hopkinsville. We've got Lake Barkley and Lake Kentucky Lake down from us and on the south, and we have a lot of recreation areas like that. We have Pennyroyal State Forest with lake areas up there, and a lot of recreation. So we have a lot of lake areas and stuff around us. And one thing that helps us, is the Corps engineer and him work very closely and watch the water level too here in Hopkinsville, and they keep the water moving very quickly for us.
All right, Mayor, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here and provide some perspective on the situation. Is there anything else you want to add? Anything I left out before I let you go?
I appreciate you having us on this morning, and if anybody's got any questions, just go to our city web pages, and we'll be glad to help you, or call the city or call the ECC, the E911 number, and we'll be glad to help you with that any way we can. And we appreciate all you're doing for Hopkinsville.
Mayor James R. Knight Jr. of Hopkinsville, Kentucky, thank you again. Be safe, and we definitely appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir.
And of course, part of all of this does include a tornado outbreak. We've seen tornadoes reported over the past several days. Coming up here in just about 30 minutes or so, we're going to be joined by a reporter over at Fox Weather who is out, I believe, in Mississippi. So she'll provide a report for us live again in just about 30 minutes. For now, we are going to head to a quick 2-minute commercial break, but so much more live coverage to get to on the other side.
If crypto taxes mean being stuck in spreadsheets, meet CoinTracker. We focus on the time-consuming stuff.
It was rather an ominous pronouncement. I thought that, with the destruction of Israel because of the troubles over Gaza and the Houthis and so on, no, our aim is to destroy the United States.
I just wanted to quickly pick your brain on Iran. I know that you've got some real expertise in the area. Iran has gone from being the thing that everybody was very, very, very worried about over the last sort of 12 months or so, as the situation in Gaza was developing and contagion into the wider region. Since January, attention has been elsewhere. But I think you're very nervous that there's still acute danger in the region?
I think there is a general perception, and it is a question mark rather than a known fact, that they think they're getting very close to serious weaponization in the nuclear program. And hence we have a Trump letter to the Supreme Leader and the leadership saying we have got to do some sort of deal on nuclear, forget about the JCPOA, the agreement of 2015-2016. We've got to do something about it, or we will have to react. I'm sorry to say that you just have to look. There are 3 carrier groups in the region. There's a French carrier group there. They've moved B-2 bombers to Guam. It's extremely worrying, and I think quite rightly, we've seen the Houthis in a way as a symptom, an outlier of this very, very grave problem, which is developing. I think it's so grave. It's very, very interesting. I'm sorry to go back to my favorite pronouncement by Sherlock Holmes. There's nothing so deceptive as an obvious fact. This obvious build-up is going on. Very few people are writing about it. I have 1 or 2 correspondents who almost phone me on a daily basis. Then, have you seen the move up? What's going on? What is the pressure? There's been no response from the Ayatollah. And unfortunately, from the Supreme Leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, there was rather an ominous pronouncement. I thought that, with the destruction of Israel because of the troubles over Gaza and the Houthis and so on, no, our aim is to destroy the United States, he was saying, only in the last few weeks. So that is very worrying. I think, by the way, can I just say a quick observation about the defence review and so on? The big question is the R word, the resilience word. We can't do it. You will have seen it in government. Resilience means redundancy and contingency as well. And and that's what we've had with stocks, military stocks. The other area, which people you and I know very well, are very much addressed to, is actually modernizing and making more effective the volunteer sector. And that's where people like Dr. Fiona Hill, and particularly Professor Paul Collier at Oxford, development economist, saying it's absolutely essential to make the whole thing work. And it's the outreach and the outline from the Defence Review which may be more important than the review itself.
When do you think we're going to see the UK Defence Review, Robert?
Oh, I thought it was going to come with an Easter bunny. I think George Robertson, who did give a little giveaway, a little discussion we had at the French Embassy 2 weeks ago, that he thinks it's the implications, the inferences, he thinks are really going to frighten the horses, and it's certainly frightening the government, because he said, in the terms in which we see it, we're actually on the threshold of, but in terms of cyber, communications and so on, we are at war. And that's not a proposition that any government right now wants to give the great British people.
I agree. I've had this conversation with a number of the ministers within the MOD now. There's no right or wrong way to do a defence review. If you manage it internally and the ministers give a bit of sort of opening guidance around where they would like it to go, that means that the review is from the outset founded in the political realities of the government of the day, but it can limit thinking and therefore be less imaginative, less disruptive. But if you hand it across to an external independent team, eventually those recommendations, whilst they will not be bounded by politics, and that's in many ways a good thing, I'd be fascinated to read the original, sort of edited version of the review.
So, team, here's our strategy. As you can see, we are talking about the future of
edited version of the review, but eventually it collides with politics, and that is it's easy for defence and security wonks like you and I to say there is nothing more important. But when you are in the Treasury or in the political team in Number 10, the fact is that people are more motivated to vote around NHS waiting times than they are the size of the Royal Navy. So I'm not surprised to see an independent review takes so long to work its way through the political processes in government. What I'd be interested to see, and maybe you've got some insight into this, is if the politics demand that the recommendations are watered down as much as some say they will need to be, whether or not the review team breaks ranks and say this isn't our work, we don't stand up, we don't stand by it.
I think you're quite right. You know, alpha particles, let's get to nuclear physics here. I think there's some fissile material in this, but particularly in the thinking of two that I know best over the years, Richard Barron's and Fiona Hill. And they take no prisoners. And I think from what George Robertson was saying, he was absolutely clear, they have done what they were asked to do, an independent panel. And I think one of the most interesting things from what he was saying, they had very good intelligence assessment access, and they have projected onto that what they think is where we're going and what we need to do. And I think that may not fit in too well with Manifesto Land.
We shall see. Robert, it has been an absolute joy talking to you. You have laid waste to the questions that I had planned, but I suspect that our audience will judge that where you've taken us has been infinitely more fascinating than the stuff that I was going to ask you. It has been a brilliant conversation. You have an incredible mind. I remember sitting next to you at dinner a few years ago and being slightly intimidated because you had seen many, many ministers come and go. And you were telling me about your reporting in the Falklands at the very beginning of your journalistic career. And it is an absolute treat to have someone with your encyclopedic knowledge of defence and your experiences on the front line on superpowers to help us understand the way that the world is going. Robert, thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. You've been watching Superpowers, the future of global security here on Times Radio. Tune in for more episodes of Superpowers and also subscribe to the Times Radio channel for all of the amazing geopolitical content that is produced, not just on Superpowers, but all the other shows produced on this channel. All of them help to bring a little bit of clarity to a world that is ever more uncertain and seems to be changing every hour. Until next week, thank you very much. Goodbye.
With financial institutions, cash is now extremely difficult to come by.
Since the banks closed, the dollar has disappeared, or we see a Congolese and Rwandan francs. We don't exchange many dollars anymore. We suffer because everything is normally done with dollars, and the exchange rate has exploded. It's a real loss.
Informal currency traders like Eve, as well as shopkeepers, are the hardest hit. Paying by cash is still the rule in Goma. In this market in the city centre, customers are few and far between, and traders are struggling to stay afloat. Fida hasn't sold a single vegetable since the morning.
The customers aren't there like they used to be. We come to the market every morning to display our products, but at the end of the day, we haven't even sold 100 Congolese francs. There are no customers.
Hello, this is DrPaulCottrell, and we are doing a live stream on YouTube and Rumble. I had some problems with the Rumble app. For some reason, it's been acting funny the last week or so for live streaming, so I had a little technical difficulty, but thank you for joining. We are live streaming on Rumble and YouTube on my website, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and simulcasting on X Spaces. So if you have a question, please join X Spaces, and you can ask for the mic, and you can ask your question or tell me your opinion about the news live with this stream. We are doing this live stream on April 6th. I'll also replay it on the other channels that I have. I have 7 channels. I have 4 channels on YouTube, Brighteon, Bitchute, and Rumble. All the links are in the description of this video. Please make sure you subscribe to all the channels, just in case there is a technical difficulty or there's a strike on one of my channels on YouTube, so you can get the live feed. So please subscribe to all of them. Ask your social media to follow me. I need to accrete more subscribers. I need your help. So please help with that effort. Share the links. Also, help support my work. All these videos I do are for free. I have thousands of videos out there for free for everybody. You can support my work by donating on my website, the-studio-reykjavik.com. You can donate through Stripe, PayPal, or buy me a coffee on my homepage at the very bottom of the homepage. You can also be a paid member to my Patreon channel. It's through the people that are paying on Patreon and donating and purchasing the products in my store that allows me to do this. I have lots of different products. I have ebooks, I have supplements, I even have course modules that you can learn about pulmonology and immunology. If you'd like to learn, they're only $50. You get lots of videos and lots of PDFs, and you get to log in as many times as you want and watch it at your leisure and learn about pulmonology and immunology. So take a look at that, but take a look at some of the great products that I have. Let me just introduce one product before we go to the videos. Get my structural nano silver soaps. You can get it in charcoal tea tree, lemongrass, or in peppermint and in lavender. So get a couple bars for your household, help support my work, use discount 5 and you get $5 off any order. It's discount, all caps, number 5. And that way you're getting great products in your hands, helping with your health and wellness and helping support the work that I do. If you purchase $150 or more, you will get a free gift until supplies last. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the great structural nano silver soaps that I have. Get a couple bars or a few bars for your household. Very high quality, something that I use every day. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. The link is in the description of this video and all my videos. All right, let's go to Fox News.
Heavenly beauty unfolds on stage. A lost civilization.
Numbers are absolutely skyrocketing down here at our southern border. CBP sources telling me the last 3 days in a row, Border Patrol has apprehended more than 7,000 illegal immigrants per day. Border Patrol simply cannot keep up with the amount of people crossing in that sector right now. Those single adult men crossing. Take a look behind us. These guys all waiting for processing, coming in from all over the world. Day number 2 of President Biden's executive order being in effect here at the southern border, and we are seeing no impact on illegal crossings whatsoever. Our Fox News aerial team live over Eagle Pass, where they have been getting absolutely buried in illegal crossings today.
Don't take it to check. No background check.
No security check, no background check. You're worrying about who's crossing the border?
Yes, yes. Of course, when you get outside, I'm like, people are not looking normal.
It was a crazy few years down there. That was then, during the height of the border crisis under the Biden administration. This is now. U.S. Customs and Border Protection revealing there were just over 7,000 illegal crossings in March. That is the lowest monthly total in modern history. For more on that, we want to bring in Trump supporters are Tom Homan. Tom, you campaigned on this. You campaigned on cleaning up the border. You made it happen. Before we get in those numbers, I do want to address, we're hearing there's supposed to be some sort of a big protest on the front lawn of your home in New York today. So big, apparently the mayor has to get involved. Fill us in. What's going on?
Well, they're protesting an operation up there that was conducted by HSI and Border Patrol. A criminal investigation in child predator that was arrested. And there were people, that were detained for material witness and possible victim statements. So, decisions are based on protests and rallies and hate mail and, people that are, concerned about the way this operation was conducted. I don't make decisions based on protests and hate mail and rallies. They can protest a vacant house all they want. No one's there. I'm down here in D.C., but it's unfortunate that they don't listen to the facts of the case. They want to protest my house. The bad thing is, it's going to cause law enforcement to be tied up here for a while, because not only local law enforcement is going to be tied up, but my own security detail. And I got Virginia State Police around my home here in Virginia 24/7 because of death threats from criminal cartels who didn't know about the New York property until, the protesters that put out in media and social media this week. So that's going to cause my security detail and extra security threat. Now the criminal cartels do know I own property in upstate New York, but we'll deal with that. But the people need to understand, decisions will be made. Decisions are made on the result of a criminal investigation and what transpired during that criminal investigation. Protests and rallies, they don't mean anything. So go ahead and exercise your First Amendment rights. It's not going to change the facts of the case.
Tom, there were days during the Biden administration when it was at its worst, when there were more than 10,000 illegal crossings in one single day. You guys just had 7,000 in an entire month. How'd you do it?
Well, President Trump's a game changer. I mean, President Trump promised American people he would secure the border. President Trump did in 60 days. Bill, you were down there. In 60 days, he did what Biden administration couldn't or wouldn't do in 4 years. You were down there, you and I were down there together when numbers went over 11,000 a day. We went from 11,000 a day, and right now the average daily crossings are around 200. 11,000 to 200. But the more important number is the number of gotaways. Under Biden administration, the average number of gotaways, people that got in the country, weren't arrested, escaped in the country. We don't know who they are, where they came from, and why they're here. It was an average of 1,800 a day. The other day it was 51. So, that's a significant number. The border is more secure right now than any time in American history. I started in 1984 as a border patrol agent. I've never seen the numbers this low.
There seems to be this recent fixation by the media and by some Democrats on trying to vet every single person you guys are deporting. I guess the question is, where was that interest in vetting when millions of people were coming across the border in the last 4 years and they were being caught and released by the millions? Where was the vetting then?
There was no vetting, and the vetting that was done, Secretary Mayorkas lied about the vetting. We've seen numerous cases where they release people in the United States saying, oh, they're properly vetted, only to find out they had serious criminal histories in foreign countries. So, and you're right, where was the concern about the 2.2 million gotaways? Where's the concern of 600% increase in sex trafficking of women and children? Where was the concern about the record number of Americans dying from fentanyl coming across the border? Number of illegal aliens dying, which is record high. There was no concern of vetting back then. So we knew from day one, Bill, you and I talked about this. So President Trump got in office, we started making this country safe again. They would attack the men, women of ICE, and men, women of Border Patrol every single day, and that's what's happening.
You guys have been urging illegal aliens to self-deport themselves, or else they could be sent to Guantanamo Bay. They can be sent to El Salvador. Do you have any early numbers? How many people have registered on that new CBP Home app to self-deport?
No, that's been up about 3 weeks, and we got to, it needs to be advertised more, especially in the Spanish language and other languages. That, as you know, we had 161 different nations that came in under Joe Biden. So we're expanding the messaging now. I think on the last 3 weeks we had about 2,500 sign up. We need a lot more than that. So we're going to just start expanding the message, putting out all different languages so people understand. If you self-deport and not get ordered deportation, then you can come back legally under another program, whether you got a U.S. citizen child that can petition for you, whether you want to come back as a student, a visitor, or tourist. But we have to formally deport you. We have to take that action. You will never come back in this country under any legal program again. So we're going to try to convince these people, do the right thing, leave the nation on your own, and take advantage of the legal way to come back to this country.
Tom, we got about a minute left. Last month, you guys put in new leadership at ICE. You put in acting ICE director Todd Lyons to give a shot in the arm to ICE. Are you happy with where arrests and deportations are at right now, and where do you want to go?
Well, Todd Lyons, I've known Todd Lyons for decades. He's one of the premier field office directors in the nation up in Boston. You worked with him many times, but I know you're up there on the ride-alongs. The numbers are good, and we arrested more criminal aliens in 2 months than Joe Biden did here. But we got to increase those numbers. We got a lot of criminals out there. We got over 600,000 convicted criminals running around the streets. We got to increase those numbers. So we need to add more teams, more targeting. We're working on that now.
All right, Tom, always great to see you. Thank you for your insight, and I hope you have a great Saturday, regardless of those protesters at your house up in New York. Enjoy your day in D.C.
Before we go to the next video, I'm live streaming on Rumble, on YouTube, on my website, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and doing the simulcast on X Spaces. So if you have a call-in or if you want to give me your opinion on the news, please go to my X Spaces channel, and the link I'll post it in the chat to quickly do it. But just ask for the mic and you can be live on the different channels and different streams. Please help support my work by getting the great products that I offer. All right, some of the great products that I offer are dealing with supplements, and I stack them in a certain way to improve my health, and I'm trying to teach you on how to do this stacking the way I do it at different price points, so you can apply it to your own health and wellness. I have a core protocol that I've been kind of developing. And that first, over time, I've been developing this core protocol. But the first pillar is to take max 35, max 14 to improve your immune system. C60 to soak up free radicals. The third pillar, bring down inflammation, taking the turmeric, the ashwagandha, and the lignans. And then the fourth pillar is to boost up your energy levels and your metabolism by taking the boomer boost. And that's that core, and then you add to it. All right. Now let's talk about the first pillar. Max 14 or max 35, or even I have an additional product called Cleanse. And they're all at different price points and all at different parts per million. So you have 14 parts per million, you have 30 parts per million, and then you also have here with the max 35 parts per million. But this is applied for that first pillar, all right? Now I have these different versions because of the price point, because some people can't afford the higher version. But the whole point is to take it every day, take a teaspoon a day, gargle with it, swish it in your mouth, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, then swallow. What that's going to do is it's going to improve your oral cavity, oral pharynx, improve the mucosal barrier, but also the health of the epithelial lining. When you do that, you're boosting up your immune system. So take the max 14, the max 35, or Cleanse, which is 30 parts per million. But when you do that every day, and you are helping boost up your immune system. Now, another great product that I have is a product that I developed with Rainbow Herbals, and that's the deodorants. All right, the deodorants are multi-purpose. You can use it as a deodorant every day, but it'll also help to detoxify your body. The ingredients in here will help to slowly detoxify your body. Now you can get it in citrus, and you can get it in peppermint, lavender, and tea tree. It's for males and females. There's no aluminum, no baking soda. This is the highest quality deodorant bar that you're going to be able to buy. All right. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Get this dual purpose deodorant bar that helps to detoxify your body. It's for males and females. Get a couple bars for your household. Help support my work and help support your health. If you purchase $150 or more on my store, you will get a free gift until supplies last. So please go to my store, get the deodorants, get the max 35, the max 14, or Cleanse, and use it every day. Again, with the liquids, take a teaspoon a day. Every day, if you're not feeling well, take a tablespoon or two a day, and then go back to your maintenance teaspoon a day once you start feeling better. But the bottom line is get the great products that I offer. You spend $150 or more, you'll get a free gift until supplies last. Go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Use discount 5, and you discount all caps number 5, and you will get $5 off any order. All right. With that said, let's go to live now.
But we'll be right back with more live coverage on the other side.
All right, they're going to commercial break. All right, let's go to Al Jazeera here.
Have now been destroyed, and only 2 wells are still operational. What it does is it effectively divides southern Gaza into 2, running between Khan Yunis and Rafah. But it's not the only barrier that Israeli forces have created in the strip since the war began. The so-called Netzarim corridor, which cuts off the north from the rest of Gaza, has been a flashpoint in recent weeks, and the Philadelphia corridor runs along Gaza's southern border with Egypt. Hind al-Khudari joining us now from Deir al-Balah in central Gaza. Talk us through first of all, the attacks that we're seeing in Gaza today and their aftermath.
Well, the latest attack is here in Deir al-Balah, actually in 2 areas in Deir al-Balah. The first one was in the western parts, and the other one was in the eastern parts of Deir al-Balah. We just saw a headed baby, which was transferred to the hospital, and we also saw 2 women killed in this attack where the Israeli forces targeted a house in Deir al-Balah. But it's not only that. There was another
airstrike in the middle area, especially in Zuwaida, where another man has been killed. And earlier today, there was another airstrike in Jabalia, in the northern parts of the Gaza Strip, and also what was happening since the morning in Khan Yunis, where at least 19 Palestinians have been killed. It's still escalating. The Israeli forces continue its air, land, and ground killing for Palestinians all over the Gaza Strip.
And speaking of what's happening on the ground, the Israeli army now deploying a new military corridor. Does this isolate effectively Rafah from the rest of the Gaza Strip? And what impact is that going to have on people in the southern parts of Gaza, like Rafah and Khan Yunis?
Well, it's definitely going to split the Rafah from Khan Yunis, and this is one of the barriers that is currently on the ground in the Gaza Strip. Now, whoever tries to approach Rafah now is going to be killed either by quadcopters or by Israeli soldiers of live ammunition. This barrier, or let's say the Miraj access, or the second Philadelphia corridor, has been created after the Israeli forces invaded Rafah. Now, this is going to take all of the area of Rafah, which is a very big portion of the southern Gaza Strip, and it's also going to prevent Palestinians from reaching agricultural land, because since the borders have been closed, Palestinians have been harvesting and using this land for vegetables and fruits and to get food, but since then there has been no food in the markets. Now, let's say also that according to OCHA, at least 104,000 Palestinians evacuated from Rafah to Khan Yunis, and there are thousands of Palestinians still trapped and are unable to evacuate. But there has been ongoing demolition for houses and residential houses. There is ongoing blowing up of houses and residential units and public facilities in that area. This is another barrier, just like the Netzarim corridor, where the Israeli forces split the north from the south from Salahuddin road. Palestinians are very stressed about what's going on in Rafah, and they feel that this is a new restriction of movement and also a new pressure on the Palestinians.
Hind al-Khudari reporting from Deir al-Balah, Gaza. Thank you, Hind. 2 British MPs have been refused entry to Israel, accused of planning to spread hateful rhetoric. Labour members Ep10 Mohammed and Yuan Yang were interrogated for several hours before being sent back to the UK along with their 2 aides. The UK Foreign Office confirmed the group was part of a parliamentary delegation. Foreign Secretary David Lammy said their treatment was unacceptable, counterproductive, and deeply concerning. Well, the Israeli embassy in the UK issued this statement.
I'm gonna go to Stephen Miller, that was being interviewed on Fox News.
Going into an office, working 50 hours a week, having that structure, I knew that I wanted more.
All right, Fox News alert here. As the selling does seem to continue in the American stock market, you've got the Dow sinking to the lows of the session as we speak right now, down 2,100 points at 38,418. Okay, so let's bring in Stephen Miller. He's at the White House. He's the White House Deputy Chief of Staff. Your timing is perfect because I'm sure there are a lot of folks out there who would like to know the White House thinking here. Stephen, please do share with us your thoughts in this moment, and especially after China announced these retaliatory tariffs. It seems like that's when the markets took another leg down here. Where is all of this going next?
Well, let's first establish an important foundation. The United States is 36% of global consumption, and we're more than 25% of the world's economy. Just the United States alone. That means we get to set the rules and terms for international trade. But we've done the opposite as a country for decades now. When we hear the term globalization, what does that really mean? It means taking America's wealth and shipping it to foreign countries. So all the factories that used to be in America are now in China, Cambodia, Thailand, Vietnam, Canada, Mexico, parts of Africa, India, Europe, Japan, Korea. You know where they're not? The United States of America. Because our leaders allowed foreign countries to rig the rules of the game, to cheat, to steal, to rob, to plunder. That has cost America trillions of dollars in wealth. These countries cannot win a trade fight with us because they're already the ones who have cheated. So in other words, they've stolen our industries. We have all the upside here in this fight because we can now make these industries come back because we have the market. We have the consumers they need. Japan cannot replace the American automobile market. Europe can't replace the American automobile market. They need us. And this is a fundamental issue of fairness and national security. Tell me, why is it that if you go to Tokyo, there's no American cars? If you go to Berlin, there's no American cars. But on our streets, we have every foreign car there is in the world. They've locked their markets to our cars. They have stolen from our workers and our people. And President Trump is saying that has to end. We need our wealth back and our jobs back. And the quality of America, the American quality of life, will rise exponentially as these policies kick in and as the great onshoring and return of American wealth occurs.
Are you confident we can replace that production and we can do so in a way that Americans can actually afford and like those cars?
Without question. In fact, the changes in advanced manufacturing technology, 3D printing, robotics, artificial intelligence, this makes it more and more affordable to manufacture, produce, and build at scale in the United States. American workers should not have to compete with child slave wages in Vietnam. They should not have to. That is wrong. We do not need a global race to the bottom that says that American workers have to earn the same wages and work in the same conditions as the poorest workers in the third world. That's the system that we've had. With the right tax policy, the right regulation policy, the right trade policy, and investing in advanced manufacturing, all of these industries and supply chains can come back home. But here's the thing, it's not a choice. It's a national security imperative. Well, what would happen if there was a war and we didn't have the ability to manufacture our own steel, our own aluminum, our own medicine, our own automobiles, our own aircraft? What would happen to the United States of America? It is a fundamental matter of national survival.
Yeah, well, we got a glimpse of that during COVID, right? When people couldn't get what they needed, we learned so much of it was being made outside of the United States. And how about the food industry? This was really interesting perspective right here on America Reports last hour from a shrimper. Listen.
We've been getting killed by imports for not just years, but literally decades. So we've been suffering for a long, long time. And these tariffs, we believe, are going to give us some immediate relief. We've outsourced our whole industry. 94% of the shrimp consumed in the United States is imported.
Okay, so he shared with us, he's optimistic that this could help his industry survive. And they've seen a decline for decades now. Because all of these, all the shrimp's been coming in from all these other countries into the United States, low quality shrimp, he pointed out. But there's fears.
By the way, a lot of the seafood that we're importing has formaldehyde in it, is not safe for consumption. And this whole situation, people have to understand just how badly we've been ripped off as a country. You heard that, gentleman, 94% of shrimp is imported to the United States, and we have the Gulf of America. The U.S. agriculture and seafood industry has been decimated because we allow for subpar, cheap foreign imports without limit that are subsidized by foreign countries to put our farmers and our shrimpers out of business while their markets are closed to ours. And can someone explain to me? We protect and defend South Korea. And in exchange, they steal our automobile industry, they steal our electronics industry. We protect and defend Japan, and in exchange, they close their market to our cars. We protect and defend Canada, and they run up a massive trade deficit with us. We protect and defend all of Europe, and it costs them trillions of dollars over time. And what do? They run an over $300 billion trade deficit with the United States. Why should America protect the world, send foreign aid to the world, defend the world, provide for the world, and in exchange, get ripped off by every other country in the world? What do we have to show for it? The deindustrialization of the heartland, the destruction of the American dream, the eradication of our industrial and manufacturing base that we need for our national security, and the crushing of the American dream. It has to stop, not to mention $36 trillion in debt.
I've only got a few seconds left, but people are throwing around the R word, and they see the Dow down 2,100 points, and people are worried about a recession. They're worried that we can't do this without sending this economy into such a deep dive that we can't come back from it. And I know you guys are all about growth. I know you're about lowering taxes, rolling back regulations, and seeing that growth. Are you concerned that this is going to put us into a recession?
the exact opposite. We inherited from Joe Biden an economy in total free fall. There has been zero jobs growth for American workers in 4 years. So there's all jobs growth they've gone to foreign workers. That is a depression, not a recession. That is a depression for the American worker. We had debt and deficits that were rising unsustainably that would lead us into a certain debt and deficit crisis. We had inflation that was in high double digits, crushing the American family, making it impossible to afford the essentials of life. We had an economy that was in a state of calamity and catastrophe. President Trump's policy of reshoring our supply chains, pushing for total expensing of capital gains, eliminating regulation, eliminating intrusive Green New Scam environmental rules, pushing for the biggest, broadest tax cut in American history, and reducing taxes on American workers, including ending taxes on tips, ending taxes on overtime, ending taxes on Social Security. This economic program is the single most important program for American wealth, prosperity, and rejuvenation that we've ever seen in this country.
All right, I'd love to continue the conversation. Hope to have you back on soon, Stephen. Thank you so much. All right.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.
I'm live streaming on Rumble, YouTube, my website, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and doing a simulcast on X Spaces. So please join X Spaces if you would like to ask a question. I had a slight problem with the Rumble app, so I did something different, and the audio is now working for Rumble. So I apologize for the ones that were watching Rumble and we're not getting the audio. So with that, that's fixed. I want to go now to Mark Levin. But before we do Mark Levin, let me just do a product plug here. And it's very important to get a good probiotic. I have two different types of probiotic on my store: the veggie cap version or the powdered version. I prefer the powdered version because I take a lot of different powders like the probiotic, the lignans, the collagen, the boomer boost, the gladiator barley. So I take quite a bit of powder. So it's just easier for me for my lunch to mix them together. But for people that don't and they prefer the veggie cap version, that's okay too. Both are very high quality probiotics. Taking a good probiotic is really important to help reduce inflammation at the gut level, allow for you to absorb your nutrients better, improve your immune system at the gut level, improve the communication between your gut and your liver and your gut and your brain. You'll also see improvements with your skin, your hair, and your nails. So it's very important to take a good probiotic every day as a great base and add to it for your stack, right? Like I said, taking a probiotic and doing that health protocol, that 4-pillar core protocol that I just mentioned earlier, is a great way to get healthy. So if you spend $150 on my store or more, you will get a free gift until supplies last. Use discount 5 and you get $5 off. If you purchase anti-aging boxes or longevity boxes, they have a built-in discount compared to purchasing those products individually. So it behooves you to get these anti-aging boxes and longevity boxes and use discount 5 and you get $5 off on top of the built-in discount that's in the anti-aging and longevity boxes. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, get the probiotics, take them every day, improve your health. It's a great way to build a foundation for your health protocol. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. The link is in the description of this video and all my videos.
Hello, America. Mark Levin, and this is Life, Liberty, and Levin Saturday. Welcome. We have Gordon Chang and Mark Goldfeder. I want to introduce you to Mark. He's a great lawyer. These are two great guests, and we'll be with them in a moment. But Donald Trump is about to do something in economics that's never been done in American history. I want you to listen to me very carefully. You have people talking about tariffs like they know what they're talking about. People talking about tax cuts like they know what they're talking about, and so forth and so on. They really have no idea what they're talking about. I'd like you to listen to me very, very carefully. Donald Trump is trying to do all of the following at the same time, simultaneously. He wants to slash income and business taxes, slash federal, individual income taxes, federal, corporate income taxes, other taxes, not for billionaires, for all Americans. He wants to slash, and is, regulations. He wants to slash government spending. We've never seen anything like Doge and Elon Musk and those folks in our lives. He wants to slash the size of government, trying to eliminate departments and agencies and personnel. We've never seen anything like this. At the same time, he's increasing tariffs. Now, is he increasing tariffs because he likes increasing tariffs? No, he's increasing tariffs because other countries have been increasing tariffs against us without any response. And I'm going to get to that in a minute. Now, why is this so important? Well, obviously, we want the economy to do well, except for the Democrats. They want it to tank because they think it'll help them. But put them aside. This is the most aggressive effort at pro-American growth in American history. I want you to listen to me carefully. From the founding to 1913, we didn't have an income tax. We had a short temporary one during the Civil War. It was ruled unconstitutional because it was. But from our founding up to 1913, 95% of the federal government was funded by tariffs at a rate of approximately 20% on average. Now follow me. We had two major industrial revolutions during this time. From 1750 to 1850, there was no income tax, only tariffs. The second big industrial revolution was from 1850 to 1913. 1913, the passing of the federal income tax under the 16th Amendment. The two great industrial revolutions occurred when tariffs were funding the federal government and there was no federal income tax. What I would argue is the third great industrial revolution occurred under Ronald Reagan for 6 of his 8 years. With his massive tax cuts across the board, we haven't seen anything like that since the second great industrial revolution. The economy grew under Reagan by almost 30% by the time he left office. It grew more than what was then West Germany. It was massive. In fact, it grew into the Clinton administration, which helped balance the budgets. It started in about 1983 and it went into the mid-1990s. And despite what people say, if you look at Reagan's record on free markets, it was not stellar. In fact, the Cato Institute, Reason Magazine, these libertarians, they were very upset with him at the time. So when you hear Rand Paul, one of the 4 Republicans who voted the other day, and says, this takes us back to the 1930s. No, it doesn't. Because in the 1930s, there was massive increase in spending. There wasn't slashing of taxes. There wasn't slashing of regulations. And the Depression went on for 10 years from 1929 to 1939 because Franklin Roosevelt was a socialist. Donald Trump is a capitalist. But there's even more than that. The Great Depression that occurred in our country, we've had really 2 Great Depressions. And the 2 Great Depressions occurred from 1873 to 1879, the first Great Depression. The second Great Depression was from 1929 to 1939. No less a great economist than Milton Friedman, a libertarian, by the way, made the point, the Great Depression that occurred from 1929 to 39 wasn't due to tariffs. It was due to monetary policy. And he points out there was a severe monetary contraction by the Federal Reserve. So when the money should have been freed up for investment at the time when the economy is beginning to contract, he has argued that what the Federal Reserve did is they took a bad recession and they turned it into a depression by tightening money. In fact, he wrote extensively about this. He said the stock of money, the money supply, from 1929 to 33 fell by over 1/3, by over 33%. So there wasn't enough cash available for people to actually physically buy things or invest because the Federal Reserve contracted the monetary policy so much, the contracting economy collapsed. And then, of course, on top of that, you had the socialist policies of FDR. Two great professors from UCLA, economists, wrote about this too. Donald Trump is doing nothing like this. First of all, he's not in charge of monetary policy. What he's doing is something that's never been done in American history. He's looking at the size of government. He's shrinking it. He's looking at the spending of government. He's trying to shrink it. He's looking at the regulations. He's trying to shrink them. He's looking at the size of government, the number of employees. He's trying to shrink it. He's looking at the taxes. He's trying to slash them. All pro-growth, all private sector oriented, all middle class oriented, all capital, R&D, consumer oriented. That's not what happened at these.
Lawyers, who wants to pull another all-nighter? Who's going to review a ton of evidence? You? No, Cecilia is. Behold, Cisco's new AI assistant. Here it hum. This weekend, have a weekend! Yes.
That's not what happened at these other times. That's a key issue. At the same time, he's using tariffs to do what? To re-industrialize America in areas that we've been de-industrialized. We can't even build ships anymore. We have to rely on other countries for so much of what we do. Now let's take a careful look at this. Capital goods, excluding automotive, took the top spot of imports in 2023, clocking in at $859.1 billion. What does that include? Electric devices, computers were the two highest types of capital goods imported. Telecommunications equipment, industrial machinery, followed in the highest values of imports. This category also includes semiconductors, food machinery, aircraft parts. Consumer goods were the second largest commodity imported by the United States. Almost $758 billion worth of goods imported. Pharmaceutical preparations were the top commodity. We can't produce our own pharmaceuticals without importing these various elements, mostly from China. Followed by products in the cell phones. Other household good category. Consumer goods also include furniture, artwork, apparel, glassware. Next on the list were industrial supplies and materials, almost $700 billion. Crude oil. Even though we're energy independent, the prior administration made us more dependent than ever, but we still use more energy than we produce today. Donald Trump is trying to change that too. Again, we've never seen anything like this in American history. The pro-growth side of the Trump agenda is unmatched. It's unmatched. It's not just tax cuts, it's cutting government, it's cutting government personnel, it's cutting regulations. We have never, ever seen anything like this, ever. This category also includes finished metal and plastic products and so forth. So Donald Trump's looking around and he's saying, we need to re-industrialize America. We need to be able to make the products we used to make for national security reasons, for our economic health, to build our skyscrapers, to build our roads, to build our economy. We can't just rely on China. Basically, we import most of what we import. Number one, Mexico. Number two, Canada. China's right up there. Number three, right on their tails, Japan and so forth. He looks at this, he says, they're ripping us off. Not only won't they take our goods, in the case of China, they're stealing our goods. They're stealing our technology. They're stealing our proprietary information. Companies go in there and they immediately say, okay, we own 51% of your business. You're going to make available to us all your data. You're going to make available to us all your proprietary information, all your patents. It's like, excuse me? And on top of that, when we're done, we're putting you out of business. Trump says, that's enough of that. Japan. Most of our electronics are not made in the United States. The same thing happened with Reagan. What Reagan did is he put import quotas on. What Trump is doing, he's putting tariffs on. That's enough of that. Who makes televisions in America anymore? Who makes computers in America anymore? There may be a few assembly lines, not much. And of course, we know the issue about computer chips. We were the number one in the world. Now we're nowhere. And so they're trying to figure out how to do it. We can't build ships anymore. Theodore Roosevelt's Navy can't be built today. Our Navy is way behind in terms of the number of ships of the communist Chinese. He's looking at that. He's saying that is a huge problem. You know what else he's looking at? Donald Trump is looking at the whole world. He's seeing that the communist Chinese and the Russians, they're in choke points. The South China Sea, he sees it. He's talking about Greenland because he sees Russia has 10 military bases in the Arctic Circle. He sees what they're doing. He sees that communist China has contracts on both ends of the Panama Canal, that they're making it difficult for the United States, should they blackmail us militarily, to function, to push back, to have the kind of economy that we need, the kind of trade that we need. He's not anti-trade, he's for trade. He's not anti-market capitalism, he's for market capitalism. He's for free markets. But he's saying, we don't have a free world market. We're getting screwed. That's what he's saying. So now we're going to have a trade war, people say. Well, we might. And his answer to that is, all they have to do is reduce their tariffs. It's called reciprocity, and we'll reduce ours. But if they don't, doesn't that prove the point? That they want to destroy our industries? And he says they are destroying our industries. Slowly but surely and more quickly than normal, we're being hollowed out. I've looked at the history of these industrial revolutions. I've looked at the history of tariffs and income taxes. Now, what's interesting about the Democrats, they don't want to cut income taxes. They have they have a problem with stuttering. It's called tax cuts for billionaires. You bring up, oh, tax cuts for billionaires. No, we want to eliminate taxes on tips.
Levin is absolutely right. We have never had free markets. Too many people with either subsidies or tariffs, barriers. Now, the last 35 years have been very beneficial to the international community. Let's put it that way. Transnational capitalists, corporations that are global, and they need to play the labor arbitrage. So they can justify higher share price on the stock exchanges. So they don't really care about the consumer. They care about their shareholders. And that's what this is all about. So when you hear a representative, either Republican or Democrat, complain, it's not because their constituents that voted for them are complaining so much. It's the people on K Street that have been benefiting for the last 35 years of the status quo, seeing it being uprooted, and they can no longer play the labor arbitrage game. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Get this structural nano silver toothpaste. This has no fluoride. Fluoride makes you stupid. You don't want fluoride in your toothpaste. But this has structural nano silver. This will whiten your teeth, freshen your breath, help with your gum line, reduce inflammation at the gum line, and good oral hygiene will help with your vascular system and your valves in your heart. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Get the best toothpaste that you can purchase. You can't, let me repeat, you cannot buy a better toothpaste than what I sell on my store. The-studio-reykjavik.com. Use discount 5, get a few tubes of this toothpaste for your household, help support my work, and help support your health. It's a win-win situation. If you purchase $150 worth of product on my store or more, you will get a free gift until supplies last. Use discount 5 and you get $5 off. If you purchase anti-aging boxes or longevity boxes, they have built-in discounts. And you can apply the discount 5 on top of it. Please go to my store, get this very high quality toothpaste, get a few tubes for your toothpaste for your household today, help with your health. Stack. It's all about stacking, right? So improve your oral hygiene with very high quality toothpaste, like I just showed you, and get a multivitamin. Multivitamins are extremely important as cofactors for enzymatic activity. This multivitamin is easy to digest and it is a great foundation to build off of and add stuff to it, like the toothpaste or the probiotics, or even the other even the other supplements and vitamins that I'll be showing you and how to stack. But it's important to build a foundation. And that foundation is a good multivitamin that's easy to digest, and then a probiotic, and build off of that. All right. So get this multivitamin. Again, if you purchase $150 or more, you get a free gift until supplies last. Please use discount 5 so you can save some money. I want these high quality products in your hands, because if you follow my lead on this, of stacking these supplements the proper way, and you do proper exercise, proper diet, filter your water, mindfulness, spirituality, calm your body down and put it into parasympathetic, learn new things, talk to people, you'll have this positive neuroplasticity. And when you do these holistic approaches and detox regularly your body, you're going to heal. That means your organ systems are going to perform better. You're going to slow down the aging process. Your immune system is going to be better. Your endocrine system is going to be better. Your neurological function will be better. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and follow this holistic approach and the stacking of the supplements that I offer.
Tax cuts for billions. No, we want to eliminate taxes on Social Security. Tax cuts for billions. It's like they have an issue there, and they need help. But you look at China. China has tariffs overall in the United States of 67%, in addition to stealing all our stuff. What does Trump say? He says, all right, we're going to put a tariff in there of 34% on top of the 20 we already have. He takes a look at other countries. He's looking at the European Union, our friends. 39%. He says, okay, we're going to put 20% on their goods. He looks at Vietnam.
This is the point I'm making.
Nah, we're not
Before Trump puts his tariffs on, China had tariffs on us at 67%. So who started this tariff war? Was it the Chinese? Oh, not only that. Not only are they doing a tariff war, they're doing an opium war, but it's no longer opium. And it's in reverse. They're poisoning America through fentanyl. And our youth are stupid enough to fall into the trap. We are literally in the reverse of the opium wars, where you had Western powers trying to overthrow China through the opium war. And now you have China trying to overthrow the United States through the fentanyl war. Stupid, stupid. European Union, 39%. This is before Trump puts his tariff on. Vietnam, 90%. Who started this? Who benefits from this? Consumers, you get a small benefit of importing deflation. Very small benefit. Where you lose is that you don't have the economic clustering that manufacturing provides in your society. And so what happens is your debt to GDP ratio starts to go up. And that's a bad thing, all right? Now, who benefits? Multinational corporations. Because by going to Wall Street and saying they're cutting expenses, by shipping to lower cost regions of the world, your stock price goes up. Now, do most of the consumers have a lot of shares in that particular stock? No. They have some shares, maybe in a 401k, but you're not going to really benefit that much from it. It's going to be the major shareholders that benefit, and the CEOs that have huge stock options as part of their executive package. So stop pretending that you as a consumer are benefiting from globalization, because you're not. Who's benefiting are very wealthy people. And they have the ear of media through K Street and through their advertising dollars on these big media platforms. So they basically say, we'll continue advertising on your big media platform, as long as you keep on demonizing Trump's tariff policy and scare the consumer to think that Trump's policy is bad for them, even though the Achilles heel isn't of the consumer, the tariffs, it's of the transnational capitalists and these multinational corporations. Tariffs are going to hurt their business. And so as their revenues start to decline, as their products start to drop in sales, they have to go to Wall Street quarterly and explain what they're going to do to fix it as their share price starts to drop. The multinational corporations have more to lose than you. That's the point.
46% on that. Even when it comes to reciprocity, he's not putting, for a lot of these big countries, the same level of tariffs on them that they're putting on us. And he's saying, we can't continue this way, or the United States is going to cease to be an economic and military superpower. That is what he's saying. And I started to look at this again from a macro perspective and a historical perspective. He is doing something that's never been done. And it's actually quite exciting and invigorating. Will there be a period of difficulty? I suspect there is. But a lot of that is the layover from the Biden regime, which spent like a bunch of drunken Marxists. $2 trillion on top of the pandemic money. What's that all about? That money's still floating around. It's bloated. It's gone to this group and that group and this guy who knows this guy. It's just such a complete waste. That's not productive money. I want to talk about that. Tax cuts. Because what Donald Trump is saying is these tariffs have to be coupled with massive tax cuts. He's right. 100% right. And people will say, but that'll create deficit tax cuts. I want to clean this up too. Do tax cuts cause inflation? No. Tax cuts do not cause inflation. Stay with me. Do tax cuts cause deficits? No. Tax cuts don't cause deficits. Wow. Well, all these so-called experts, they're like the legal experts who come on and don't know their what from a you-know-what. And these economic experts come on. They're not experts. They're mouthpieces. Milton Friedman's one of the greatest economists ever, as far as I'm concerned. He didn't like tariffs. There's no question about that. But I wonder what he would think today with the entire project that Donald Trump is putting forward, the entire economic package that he's putting forward. I think he'd probably like it a lot. I think Reagan would like it a lot too. I know I like it a lot. Milton Friedman said, inflation is caused by an increase in the money supply. The Fed, printing too much paper. He argued that inflation is always everywhere a monetary phenomenon, meaning that it can only be produced by a more rapid increase in the quantity of money in circulation. So he says the Great Depression, the late 20s and early 30s, was created because of too tight a monetary supply. So rather than inflate, they deflated the economy and killed it. It was a bad recession, and they turned it into a depression. And then on top of that, it was extended for years by Franklin Roosevelt and his big federal government socialist policies. Trump's not doing any of that. Friedman attributed the broken
Hey, it's me and you, but from the future.
Friedman attributed the primary cause of inflation to government spending, which leads to an increase in the money supply. He famously stated that consumers and producers, you and me, do not create inflation, emphasizing its result of government action. In other words, the printing of money, printing of paper, causes more dollar bills to be floating around out there. When he said inflation is not created by consumers and producers, he's saying inflation is not created by the private sector. It is not created by you, we the people. It's created by the federal government. And because businesses and consumers create wealth and economic activity, we create the engine of growth and prosperity and wealth. We don't print money. We make money. That's the difference. They print money. We make money. Then Friedman said, we don't create inflation. They do through monetary policy. Government does not make money. It prints money. When the federal government spends and borrows money it doesn't have, the Federal Reserve, what we call monetizes it, attaches the dollar to it. That spending and borrowing exceeds the amount of money it receives in revenue, and it does this year after year after year, now by trillions of dollars every year. The federal government is creating massive debt and massive inflation that's being monetized by the Federal Reserve. Tax cuts create economic growth and wealth and prosperity across the board. They don't discriminate for billionaires. They don't discriminate against billionaires. They don't discriminate against anybody. Tax cuts mean the private sector that creates the wealth can use more of the wealth they create for capital investment, research and development, new products, reindustrializing America, expanded workforces, higher pay to keep quality employees, and so forth. That's what Trump's trying to do. Tax cuts means more money will flow from and to those who produce things, unlike the government, which takes the money and redistributes it based on political and ideological decisions, having absolutely nothing to do with economic growth or investment or wealth creation. John Kennedy's tax cuts created wealth. Ronald Reagan's tax cuts in the 1980s created an explosion of economic growth. The deficits were created during Reagan's presidency were the result of the massive spending by the ruling class. He tried to cut. He shut the government down 6 times. The deficits created under Donald Trump, it was COVID related, and again, the Democrats and the Republicans. And Joe Biden, the Democrats have created the most massive spending spree in world history. Trillions of dollars on top of the COVID funding. It's still being spent. And they deceivingly called it, to deceive you, the American people, the Inflation Reduction Act. And thanks to Doge, you can see the hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars that are being fraudulently spent, which the Democrats and their media keep defending. Tax cuts do not cause inflation or deficits. The federal government does. And President Trump is opening up all the spigots of economic growth while trying to reindustrialize America in a way that has never been tried before, not because he's Houdini, but because there was a period of time where we didn't have an income tax. We only had tariffs. We had the 2 great industrial revolutions, and we had the Reagan great industrial revolution because he slashed taxes. And he had quotas on imports from Japan and other countries too. And so this is what's taking place in our country. And I want you to understand, when they talk about tax cuts for the billionaires, they're liars. Trump's first round of tax cuts when he was president of the United States, according to the IRS data, 16 to 26% tax cut for people earning between $15,000 and $50,000. People earning between $50,000 and $100,000, about a 15 to 17% tax break. People earning $100,000 to $500,000, so their personal income tax cut between 11 and 13%. By comparison, no income group with an adjusted gross income of at least $500,000 received an average tax cut exceeding 9%. And the average tax cut for brackets starting at $1 million and the billionaires was 6%. Does that sound like a tax cut for billionaires to you? Wrote Justin Haskins of the Heartland Institute some time ago. We need these massive tax cuts, and we need them as soon as possible. The House Republicans and Democrats got to get their act together and figure out and get it done.
Hey, it's Will Kane. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News channel on YouTube. It's the best way to get our link.
Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Get the vitamin C and magnesium and the magnesium and zinc. These stack really well together. You can take them separately, but let me explain why it's important to take them together. Taking vitamin C and magnesium will help with your skin, but also boost up your immune system. Take it every day. If you're not feeling well, take a double dose. Make sure you drink it with filtered water. Taking more magnesium as a supplement is going to help also with your brain health and your brain function. So it's really important. So get the vitamin C and magnesium. You can take it separately, but you can also take it with the magnesium and zinc. Now with magnesium and zinc, you get a nice dose of magnesium with the zinc, and this will help to boost up your immune system and your brain function. So stack them together for maximum results. Drink it with filtered water, boost up that immune system, help with your skin, and help with your brain function. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the vitamin C plus magnesium and the magnesium and zinc supplements. Take them together for max benefit. In addition, by taking the magnesium supplements, it will add to the efficacy of D3 to absorb calcium. So it has been found that D3 works better when you take magnesium. So please get the vitamin C plus magnesium and the magnesium and zinc, boost up that immune system, help with your brain function, and improve the efficacy of D3. You can also get magnesium through my supplement Boomer Boost that has magnesium in it in addition. So please go to the store and get those supplements. Stack them to get the max benefit. We're going into the allergy season, so it behooves you to make sure that you have lozenges and drops at home and at work, just in case you need them. I have in the lozenges, which are larger, the Manuka honey, you get 21 in each bag, and elderberry zinc, and you get 20 in each bag. Very high quality structural nanosilver lozenges. The drops are smaller, you get 100 in each bag. You can get it in honey and lemon, in cherry flavor, and also in blueberry. They're all made from the structural nanosilver. Make sure that you get a few bags for your household and for work. You never know when you need them. Right when you have that throat irritation, take the drops and the lozenges right away and mitigate the problem. It's really important. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Use discount 5, all cap discount 5, and you get $5 off. The link is in the description of this video and all my videos. We're live streaming on Rumble, on YouTube, on my website, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and simulcasting on X Spaces for individuals that would like to ask a question or tell me your opinion about what's going on in the news. Please ask for the mic on X Spaces and you will be live on the show. So this is an interactive show. Please type in questions in the chat or ask for the mic on X Spaces. For anyone that purchased products from my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, if you spend $150 or more, you will get a free gift until supplies last. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Make sure you use discount 5 and you get $5 off any order. All right, we're going to transition to another video here. Live Now is covering Ramaswamy's address to the Republicans at the Lincoln dinner. I'm not going to cover that. Al Jazeera is doing a segment, looks like something on Africa that I'm not going to cover. But what I want to do is go to I want to go to Piers Morgan here. This was one day ago on Fox News.
If your country is seeking tariff relief, Dr. Don is ready to see you. While the market suffered from some side effects of taking tariff medicine, President Trump was seeking phenomenal offers and ready to deal. Vietnam just got their checkup. After getting slapped with one of the highest tariff rates, all it took was one phone call. And Trump says Nam is open to having 0 tariffs. And if you believe Dr. Don's ready to operate on every country mooching off Uncle Sam, but as usual, Democrats and the media are flatlining and taking off their shoes like it's a code blue in the spin room.
There is a shoe. It's my shoe, right? It is made in China. You talk about these luxury products here, right? But you take your shoe off and see where it's made. Made in China, made in Vietnam. This is going to be 34% more expensive.
Made one of the dumbest decisions he's ever made as president, and that's saying a lot.
What Donald Trump has announced.
Now think about this for a second here. Really high quality shoes, especially for guys, and high quality suits, custom made, bespoken type clothing. All right, takes years of fine-tuning a skill to properly design and manufacture a suit and a pair of shoes, high quality shoes, all right, dress shoes. Now, there are designers in the United States that have wanted to build companies, especially in New York, build companies where they're making custom shoes, all right, where they measure your foot, all right, and it, you know, and 6-8 weeks later, you get your pair of shoes based on a certain design. So there's a design motif, and then it's custom to that design motif, all right? So the manufacturing they couldn't find in the United States. They had to go to Europe, and they have to find you have to do prototypes, and then you have to fine tune it, and then tighten certain areas of the leather, and you have to have certain areas tucked, and the stitching improved in one area, the stitching may be loosened in another area to get the right fit, the right look, and everything is right. Now, in tool and die industry, when something was made, you had to spot it, what was called spotting, and you had to spot the tool and die to have it, all the pieces to fit properly, so you have a very sharp part that's produced. Well, they go through a process that's kind of similar to spotting for shoemaking, where they're tightening up the stitching, the cutting of the leather, the stretching of the leather, maybe even the dyeing of the leather, whatever. But they're improving the process as they are making these shoes, all right? And it takes skill, and the more skill you have, the less rework or less touch-up you need to do, all right? That's called innovation. Innovation only comes through manufacturing. You don't get innovation through design. You learn technique and the idiosyncrasies of the plant floor, of the skill of the worker, of the product, and its variability, because there's so many variables involved in manufacturing anything that you become more with the product and you understand those multifactorial variables. So going back to shoes, all right, we have now, tools have been made and lines have been improved in China for being able to make these shoes, all right? Now they're in the mass production. I was using an example where it's custom, where you have a design, right? And you have different patterns for different sizes based on that design, and they're custom made to order. They're not mass production, all right? So there are variabilities with low production, ready to make type products, and then also high production, where you're going to make thousands of the same thing, all right? So, but the thing is that in manufacturing, you have to tighten it up and run test pieces to determine if cutting that leather or stitching it in that certain way or adding that sole is the best way. And it takes time to improve. But if you don't have the manufacturing to do that in the United States, if you don't do that, you won't know those skills. You won't know those little fine points of detail that lead to a high quality product. And that is the big takeaway from the 35 years of shipping manufacturing away. It's not, manufacturing is just not cars. Manufacturing is not just making metal pieces. Manufacturing is the things that you purchase, like clothing. If you really look at clothing and the way it's made, there's a lot that goes into it. It's not, and so if there's a lot that goes into it, there's a lot of peripheral industries, and hence economic clustering. So if you take away manufacturing, even if it's just to stitch a t-shirt, look at all of the inputs that go into making that product. The sewing machines, the tables, the plant floor, the shipping and receiving, the accounting, the marketing, the dye industry, the cotton industry or the fabric industry. And then there's peripheral economic clusters that happen where now you're servicing people that are working in that economic cluster. You're creating other types of jobs like restaurant and barber shops and hair salons and movie theaters, right? So there's an economic cluster that takes place. But when you take away the manufacturing, you're taking away the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 suppliers. And you're also taking away the peripheral economic clustering businesses, the mom and pop shops. And what happens then is that you don't have a vibrant economy when you're shipping those jobs away. Now, students are getting degrees in FIT, in fashion fashion institutes, all right, especially in New York, but they can't get jobs. You know why they can't get jobs? Because the jobs for manufacturing clothing are not here anymore. And therefore, you don't need as many designers, and you don't need as many people that have the skill set to actually make a shoe. The average person couldn't tell you how a shoe's made. But there's a lot that goes into making a shoe, either as athletic wear or as formal wear. And that skill set that we're losing has downstream effects, has negative externalities, such as the reduction of economic clustering, but also with the young not being able to find good jobs to learn a skill. That didn't happen for the boomers. Boomers could get plugged into the economy relatively easily after they got out of high school or college. Yes, there was the oil embargo and all this in the 70s, but relatively easily. And they could still do family formation and purchase a home. The young today have a hard time getting a good paying job out of college, and they sure as hell can't purchase a home. And so they don't do family creation because it's the cost. There's too much of a hurdle. The barrier is too high because of the cost structure. And that is because of 35 years of runaway globalization where it benefited the multinationals, the global corporations, and not the middle class. But they spun it to make you think that buying a shoe is cheaper and let's say you're buying it at Walmart or buying it at Foot Locker, and that product is made in China, that it's better for you as a consumer. That's only better for you as a consumer for the short term. But once your economic clustering is destroyed, once another generation is born and is educated and is now getting plugged into the workforce, and that economic cluster is gone, now you see the ramifications of the negative externality of globalization. And we're seeing it with the millennials. America is worse off because of globalization. Why? Because the youth do not have the same opportunities for family creation and the creation of building wealth and purchasing a home as the Gen Xers or the baby boomers had when they were in their 20s. And that's why we have to make America great again.
It's just plain dumb.
I began to understand how this is the only guy in America that could bankrupt multiple casinos.
So what's the recovery plan for the patient? Well, more U.S. manufacturing and jobs. This former auto worker says the tariffs are working and the so-called experts are all wrong.
Nobody was crying these crocodile tears when they were closing the Mount Road engine plant that Chrysler had in Macomb County.
or the Romeo engine plant in Romeo, Michigan, in Macomb County. But all of a sudden, now that we're trying to bring these products back, these components and these vehicles back to the United States, all of a sudden, all the so-called experts are saying it's going to plunge.
I know a lot about manufacturing when it comes to automotive. A lot. Okay? NAFTA destroyed the tool and die industry in Detroit and shipped it to Windsor. And they did it not because of technological know-how, but because the loonie was cheaper. So they were playing the currency arbitrage. And because it was so close to the border, they would make the tools in Canada. All right. And because the Canadian dollar was so cheap that paying in American dollars, you get the tool cheaper. And then it comes over to the border through the Ambassador Bridge. And voila, that tool is producing parts in the United States. Then over time, it got to the point where the parts were actually made in Canada. And then the parts were shipped for final assembly or sub-assembly in the United States. And then further years down the road, the sub-assemblies were made in Canada and then shipped for final assembly into the United States. Well, I know a lot about this subject. And guess what? America got fucked over. And the American worker didn't benefit from it. Not at all. Didn't benefit financially. The next generation that came on board for getting skills and starting their career was non-existent. And you were sold a bill of goods on mainstream media thinking that cheaper prices are better for you. You got to look at the whole equation. Who's benefiting? Everybody. You can't just look at consumers. Who's benefiting and who at different rates, and who's not benefiting. All right. And when you look at the total landscape of the situation, the middle class got fucked over. Now, if you don't believe me, then why is it that the managerial class and the executive class ended up gaining much more than the middle class worker? Because remember, you're not just a consumer, you have to be a producer. That's the way, that's how labor and capital are coupled together. You can't be just a consumer. All right? So, okay. You had the managerial class and the executive class gaining more in the last 35 years than the middle class. Now, why is that? Because the managerial class and the executive class had more stock or stock options that could appreciate at a faster rate than your wage or the reduction in the cost of your goods when you're importing deflation. That's what happened. And the Achilles heel of the managerial and the executive class is tanking the stock market. It doesn't hurt the middle class as much because your exposure to the stock market isn't as much. Well, someone would say, well, they have their life savings and a 401k. Believe me, a middle class person with your life savings in the 401k is nowhere near as much as the executive class. Jamie Dimon is almost, or if not already, a billionaire on paper. He didn't create JP Morgan. He ran JP Morgan, but because of his stock, he's almost a billionaire. Do you see something wrong with that? What about Tim Cook? Tim Cook's a billionaire. He didn't start Apple, but it's because of the stock options, this executive package. Meanwhile, you have to pay $1,000 for an iPhone that's made in China. See my point? You're not benefiting from globalization. They're telling you on mainstream media that you are, but are you really? Are your kids benefiting from globalization? Really? If you have a child that's just getting out of high school or getting out of college, I bet you're pretty worried about what job they're going to get. Because guess what? If you don't bring back the economic clustering in the United States, your kid's not going to gain skills.
into recession and be terrible for the economy.
And once upon a time, Democrats used to love tariffs.
It's also proper for advanced economies like the United States to insist on reciprocity for nations like China that are no longer solely poor countries, to make sure that they're providing access to their markets.
The average US MFN tariff on Chinese goods coming into the United States is 2%, whereas the average Chinese MFN tariff on US goods going into China is 35%. Is that reciprocal? The fact is that US-China trade is a job loser.
Well, someone snuck into the country before the tariffs went up, Piers Morgan. Guess now we're stuck with you. How are you?
Remind me. I mean, you think you're joking. I turned 60 or something. I thought that would be the worst thing that happened to me.
Wait, I'm older than you?
Yes.
Really? That's amazing.
By how many decades?
Boy, we are better.
No, I thought that would be the most difficult thing I had to deal with this week. And now I discover I'm so poor, having been in America for 1 week, I may not be able to afford to leave. So, Jesse, I'm going to come and chip on your sofa. What do you think?
No, there's no room, Piers.
Yeah.
But how do you think this is affecting not just you, because I know it's all about you, Piers, but how do you think it's affecting people in this country? And when I say this country, I mean the U.S.
Well, I'm like 99% of the people on social media. I'm 100% certain I have no idea if this is going to work. So everyone is either completely sure it's the greatest transformation thing we've ever seen in economic history, or a complete and utter disaster. And it seems to me that, like with a lot of things that Trump does, probably best to just take a beat, wait a bit, see how this plays out. In particular, see how all the countries respond. You're already beginning to see some movement for some of these countries racing to do a deal with Trump. If enough of them start to do that, you'll see the markets, who are basically like a bunch of lemmings running over a cliff at the best of times. They will roar back at the first sign that any of this appears to be working. However, and I think it's an important caveat, this is one hell of a roll of the dice. Because if you're out there and you're already struggling from a cost of living crisis, and you've got savings and maybe you've got some stocks and so on, you are looking at this and you're worried, you're concerned for your family, concerned how you're going to afford stuff. And I think that Trump has got to look at this very carefully, and he's got to pull out the art of the deal in spectacular fashion. Now, I
never bet against America. Never, ever, ever bet against America. 2, take the pain so you have a better future for your family and for your children's children. That's what America's about. So if you're just going to look at this with self-centered eyes, go fuck yourself. All right? America is going to get through this with flying colors, and we're going to be more prosperous. Never, ever, ever bet against America.
would just say, I wouldn't bet against it. I look at what he's done with the southern border in 2 months, which has been little short of miraculous, and he's had hardly any credit for it. So I'm prepared to give him a little bit of time and a chance. I think everybody should, to see if this works. But if in 2 months' time it's not working, the pain could be pretty enormous, and that could be presidency threatening. So the stakes are high.
It does look like a gamble to us, Greg, but the president doesn't see it that way at all. He seems relaxed.
No, because by the way, I mean, he actually said this was going to happen. The media acts like it's a big surprise, but he said, yeah, there might be a rough patch at the beginning of the stock market. He's like the pilot that says, yeah, you know, it's going to be a little bumpy when we're going up, but then it's going to smooth out and we'll get you home safely. The media is the guy that sits next to you, and every single thud of turbulence goes, we're all going to die. And Pierce is right. It's like we're only getting a half opinion. The half opinion is look at the stock market go down. They don't say, well,
and whose opinion is that? It's mainstream media pushing a K Street multinational corporation agenda. You know why they push that agenda? Because that's where their advertising dollars are coming from. They don't care about middle class America. Do you think MSNBC or CNN cares about middle class America? No, because you don't pay their salaries. Procter & Gamble does. Cargill does. GE does. Now do you understand?
I mean, I know Nancy Pelosi, net worth $270 million. Since the tariffs, she's lost $7 million, about 2.5%. Do you think she's okay? I think so. She's going to get that money back in time for Botox season. Money moves around, and a half opinion is when an idiot tells you it just goes down. And for example, I couldn't tell you what the stock market was last week, the week before that, because you don't look at it. I'm perplexed by the notion that all tariffs are bad when countries put tariffs on our products. It's a tool that is used in specific environments, not all environments, some. For example, if I were to punch Jesse in the face here, that would be bad. You know, you don't beat up. Well, for some, that could change my mind. But if it were a boxing match, yes. So in a boxing match, you don't tell your opponent, hey, the right cross is off the table, because he's not going to agree with you. So in these negotiations, he's using an asset. Trump is using an asset that wasn't being used before. So he's making, again, an asset out of nothing. And he's introducing it to keep our trading partners off balance so they make a deal on our terms. If you look at NATO, Greenland, the Panama Canal, they all woke up to the Trump alarm clock. The best part about this is they start negotiating with themselves first. Before they even get to the table, Trump, we don't even have to lift a finger, because uncertainty through action gets people moving in your direction even before you meet them. It's because it's all beginning at a standstill. It's inert. You're dealing with inertia. So it's already a win. We're already getting results.
Yeah, because Vietnam called and they want to drop their duties down to zero, Katie. So that guy's Nikes that he just held up, they're not going to go up at all.
Yeah, well, that's because Vietnam needs access to the American market to keep their country afloat, which is why they're calling and asking to negotiate. When President Trump made his trip to China in 2017, this was a topic of discussion. And I was actually there a week after he was in the country. And the number one complaint from the Commerce Department was there's no reciprocity here on anything, not to mention goods that we're trying to get into the Chinese market. We're not allowed to. We're not allowed to send the product without having a tax. So this has been an issue that the president addressed in his first term kind of as a test, and it worked out fine. So now they're going full force with his actual plan for tariffs, which includes a number of things outside of just what you saw happening on Wednesday. It's tax cuts, it's deregulation, it's spending cuts. And when you look at these Democrats who like Nancy Pelosi used to believe in exactly what he's saying, it shows that for so many years, they were always willing to talk about this, but never willing to take the political risk to actually stand up for the people they said they were going to the mat for. I mean, Elizabeth Warren, this is a woman who has said that she's for the workers and she's for the little guy and she's for the people who are actually doing the work for the big corporations. And yet she's against any of this because Trump is putting his name on it. When you look at the people who were in the Rose Garden on Wednesday with their hard hats and their union membership, Elizabeth Warren wasn't there. It could have been a great bipartisan event, and yet it wasn't. Finally, the 401ks and Wall Street, the majority or half of the country is invested in some type of investment. So to say that it's not a big deal that people are looking at their investments, that's not hurting. People do hedge home purchases, for example, against their investments, and they're worried. However, it's been 2 days since this was. It's been 2 days since this was implemented. There's a broader picture here for what they have planned. So let's see what happens as these world leaders continue to talk about.
All you got to do is just pay attention to how the S&P 500 is going to play out. Like I said, there was a support level at 5,500 that broke for the S&P 500. There was a support level at 5,150 or 5,120, which broke. And the next psychological barrier is 5,000. As this is starting to go down, it's going to bottom out between 5,000 and 4,810. It's going to consolidate, and then it's going to start going up. Because once you start the negotiations for tax cuts near the end of the year, and it gets passed, it's going to be accelerant for the actual stock market. And so what you're going to see is a much higher index at the end of the year than right now, possibly even beyond 6,000, and definitely the first quarter of next year above 6,000. So people that have been investing and accumulating shares slowly down with this downfall, don't worry. This is the time to buy. Don't, like I said, don't bet against America here. America is going to be far better off in the future here. Accumulate shares, use this as a gift that Trump just gave you. And once that stock market starts to come back up, you're going to see a 20% return. The market, the market hasn't hit. The market will be in correction territory soon. All right. So if you're accumulating shares and then that accelerant starts to go up, especially for tax cuts, then you're going to have that appreciation gain from when you're buying at the bottom. All right. So don't be fearful. Don't be fearful. There's no reason to be fearful here. This is a time where you take charge and you are bold. Oh, yeah, but I'm worried about this and I'm worried about. Don't worry about it. Buy in, just keep on buying in. It's going to go up.
Negotiate the rates.
Yeah, next week, Judge, you could bounce right back.
Yeah, and I think that what Piers was saying when you said it was a roll of the dice, and we don't know whether it's going to work or it's not going to work. When you think about the guy who is throwing the dice, okay, you've got a guy who took care of the caliphate in a few weeks that was driving the world crazy. You've got the southern border, as you say so accurately, is now no reach crossing the border. We've got a good job numbers today. We now have manufacturing coming back to the United States, $1 trillion has gotten foreign investments into this country. So when you start reading all the tea leaves, he's setting up the game. Everything is starting to coalesce. And just today, what I read out from Vietnam, he's willing to say, hey, we need you. I'm willing to go to zero. Jeep and Ram is now selling all of their vehicles to Americans at employee prices. Ford is selling vehicles to Americans at employee prices. And then you've got the pausing of the minivans and Jeeps being made in Mexico and Canada because they realize that that's not going to work anymore, that they're going to have to make them in the United States. And, the uncertainty in the stock market, it isn't necessarily a negative. It can be an indication that things are going to work out. It's just that they're uncertain right now. And you got a president who's swinging for the fences. You got a president who's punching, as opposed to the other guy who put, $5 trillion into the economy and caused inflation that this president now has to deal with. And the American industries have been getting killed. And today we heard about the shrimp industry. I didn't know anything about it. But 94% of the shrimp in this country comes from Southeast Asia and Ecuador, and they don't have any of the protections. They're farm-raised, illegal hormones, antibiotics, slave trade, all that stuff. And yet we keep protecting these other countries, defending them, giving them money, or basically saying, sock us in the face again. No more. It's time for the American worker to survive.
No more shrimp dumping.
No.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox.
Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Help support my work and help support your health. Think positive, improve your body. And if we're all thinking positive and doing the best that we can at an individual level, we will have a prosperous country. Now, to get the stack, it's very important, all right, D3 and K2, MK7 molecule. It's a dual purpose stack. It's going to help with your cardiovascular health, but it's also going to help with your bone health. All right, so D3 will help to absorb calcium. It's also a cofactor for gene expression, and it helps to get rid of cells that need to go into apoptosis. So there's a dual purpose to take for D3. D3, like I said, has higher efficacy when you take it with magnesium. If you take magnesium on a daily basis, either through a multivitamin, you can take it through my vitamin C magnesium or magnesium and zinc, or the Boomer Boost. But D3 has higher efficacy when you take it with magnesium. But with that said, take it with K2 and K7 molecule. And what that does is that it'll help to pull slowly the calcium depositing around plaque, but also reduce the chances of building new calcium deposits around plaque. That's also important to reduce calcium depositing on valves that cause stenosis, right? So this will help with your cardiovascular health, but also with your bone health. When you're taking calcium in and you're doing resistance training, you're building higher density bone. When you get older, you have more osteoclasts than osteoblasts. Now, osteoblasts build bone, osteoclast eats bone. So when you get older, you're eating more bone, right? And your bones get weaker. But if you do resistance training, take the D3, the K2, take calcium, take magnesium, do resistance training, you're sending signals to your body to build more bone. Now, a trick to increase bone matrix is to do the resistance training, weightlifting, do some running to get vibration going on in your legs and through your body, but also doing calf lifts. So if you're lifting your calf and you're coming down onto the ground with your heel, all right, you're building that vibration, pushing a vibration through your leg into your hip. It's helping the neck of your femur and strengthening that, which is a major break point for people that are older when they fall. So you're strengthening your legs, your tibia, your fibia, right? Your femur, and your hip, your spine, right? When you're doing that, you're putting the vibration up through your spinal column. And when you're doing these resistance training and you're building more musculature and you're adding stress to the bone, you're building bone matrix. So you're adding that stress, you're adding that signal to add more bone density. Biking outside, you'll get vibration from the handlebars up through your forearm. That's important, and in your collarbone. That will add to that stress to build more bone. Doing jumping jacks will help. Doing like jump roping will help. These are all important to do. It's not just weightlifting, but also adding things that will add vibration to your body, all right, on a regular basis, adds to bone matrix formation, because it's adding a signal to build bone and be able to fight against that vibration, right? That's the reason why, if you take a look at people that are doing resistance training and workout or triathletes, they seem to have a bigger bone structure, all right? And that's because of the weight training and the vibration that they're doing throughout their different sports. Okay, so that's a trick that most people don't know. So take the K2, the D3, the magnesium, take calcium supplements or drink milk, do the resistance training, and that's going to help with the bone density. Another add-on to the stack for cardiovascular health is the nattokinase. The nattokinase is going to break up clots. Now, clot formation happens for multiple reasons, but one reason is that if you have an occlusion or if you have a blockage, the blood flow through that blockage, all right, that's partially blocked, that blood flow is turbulent. And when you have turbulent blood, it's going to clot. And that could cause problems, right? So you want to break up those clots. You can break up those clots because nattokinase is fibrinolytic. In addition, nattokinase helps to bring down LDL levels and increase your HDL levels. So that's improving your total cholesterol. With better cholesterol, lowering that LDL, you have less LDL that's oxidized, so you have less plaque buildup. So it's really important to stack this with the D3, the K2, the nattokinase. And again, D3 has the most efficacy when you take magnesium on a regular basis. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Get this. if you spend $150 or more on my store, you get a free gift until supplies last. I have a cardiovascular box, longevity cardiovascular health box. That's a great way. It has lots of supplements in there to help to reduce plaque formation and to slowly bring that blockage down to a more manageable level. You can't get rid of blockage 100%, but you can go from 50 or 60%. You can go from 60% to 15% or 10%. That's a huge, huge benefit to your blood flow. All right, but you can do it over time with proper diet, proper exercise, and proper supplementation. So take a look at my longevity cardiovascular box to slowly reduce that blockage over time and to reduce the chances of new blockage from forming. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and take a look at that stack. Again, it's about proper diet, proper exercise. All 4 modalities are important. Weight training, cardio, stretching, and balancing exercises. All 4 of those modalities are important. All right, with that said, let's go to live now. They're talking about Pope Francis appearing.
Of the photos there, and it does say Pope Francis appears in St. Peter's Square at the end of the Jubilee of the Sick and Healthcare World. As Mass came to an end, the Pope made an unscheduled appearance, telling the assembled pilgrims, quote, "Have a good Sunday and thank you all very much." Francis had just completed 2 weeks of at least 2 months of doctor-ordered rest as he continues physical, respiratory, and speech therapy, as well as treatment for a lingering lung infection. The Pope referred to his experience with illness in both the traditional Sunday blessing and a different organization here, an organizer of the Holy Year that is expected to bring some 30 million pilgrims over to Rome. Addressing the sick among the crowd, the Pope said in that homily that was read, quote, "In this moment of my life, I share a lot the experience feeling weak, depending on the others for many things, needing support." Quote, "It is not easy, but it is a school in which we learn every day to love and to let ourselves be loved without demanding and without rejecting, without regretting, without despairing, grateful to God and to our brothers for the good that we receive, trusting for what is still to come." Again, here is just some of the video that you are seeing on your screen as Pope Francis did make that surprise unannounced appearance earlier on today, pushed in a wheelchair and appearing before the crowd to make just a few comments. We are going to head to a quick break now at 11:32 on the East Coast, 8:32 on the West Coast. On the other side, it looks like a live event is about to start. We'll take you out live to that coming up in just a few.
What's going on here? Have you seen the detection time? And their NTTR to die
All right, let's go to Al Jazeera about Israel has already cut off northern and central Gaza.
To cut off Palestinians in northern Gaza in the past. What do you think is the overall strategy with these corridors, these 5 corridors that you say they have in their imagination when they think of Gaza?
If Israel intends to take full control over Gaza, as Netanyahu, Prime Minister Netanyahu is saying, and as the Minister of Defense, Israel Katz, is saying, then there is a lot of logic in cutting the Gaza Strip into a few enclaves that will be cut by these corridors. It will be a little like what's going on in the West Bank. The division to area C, B, and A. It could be, that's one possibility. The other is really start concentrating the Palestinian in the Gaza Strip in a very restricted area in the Moasi on the shore next to the Al-Balah and start really making Gaza almost empty of its people except this area. It does seem that Israel still waits. It prefers airstrikes that are very deadly in human life and civilian life in order to put pressure maybe on the population so the population will push Hamas to accept its
And they have
conditions.
said, the Israeli government has said that one of the reasons for the establishment of this corridor is to put more pressure on Hamas. Do you think that the corridors that they prefigure a long-term military presence?
It's quite possible. It's quite possible that these corridors are the beginning of a long-term Israeli military presence. But
let's go back to live now. It looks like Schumer's addressing something about healthcare.
Angelo, is this yours?
That's
Someone named Dubner, you know who that is? Okay. Yeah, so we're going to Warpath. Check them out for some. I showed these guys. This is what they got me. My granddaughters.
All right, so it sounds like right now he is kind of discussing dinner plans for his, I believe, daughter's birthday, but now other folks are walking up, so it looks like they are getting ready to.
He doesn't need dinner. He needs to lose weight. He's got a way too high BMI. Trust me.
11, is it? Long time ago. And many others who are here. Sean Michael, the battalion chief of the FDNY and a board member of the UFOA. Tom Hart, the president of the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 94, and president of Citizens for Extension of the James Sedroka Act. Gary Smiley, representing FDNY EMS Local 24507, the uniformed paramedics and fire inspectors. Andrew Ansbro, he's the president of the Uniformed Firefighters Association. John Field, who is always here and always fighting and never giving up. Ben Shabbat, who was once my employee, but he's sort of the brains behind the whole operation, among other things. Mariama James, she's a survivor resident in the program, and she has a story which you'll hear. We all know it. Her late mother was in the program, and her children are in the program right now. Kimberly Flynn is a resident and survivor, and we have many other 9/11 advocates standing with us here today, both here and there. You can see how important this is. So I want to thank everybody for being here, and we're with some incredible people. These are people who rushed to the towers, as we know, right after 9/11, risked their lives, and now many of them have gotten illnesses, cancers, heart illnesses, lung ailments from these illnesses. And we made a promise to them. We're going to take care of you. We're going to take care of you. What you did for us, your heroes, at least we can provide for health care for you because of these horrible diseases that you got. And we say that to everybody, the residents who live down there as well. We say it to everybody. And what do we have now at the World Trade Center Health Program?
But you know, the Democrats, they're not willing to do the same thing for our veterans. All of our veterans' health care, all of them, if they had an honorable discharge, they should have their health care for free for the rest of their life. But the Democrats aren't willing to do that.
Accident or a mistake, maybe once, not 3 times, not 3 times. And what they fired, the top doc, John Howard, who does a great job, he has been reinstated. And we're glad he's been reinstated. They told that to Congressman Gabarino. We thank him for his help in this regard, but they haven't told us. And then recently, as 2 days ago, 16 more people were fired. These are vital people. Docs who need to sign the medical forms, people who take care of them, and they're gone. They're not there. It is outrageous. There's lots of bad things that are happening in
Schumer
Washington.
uses 9/11 as an emotional fallacy to go after Trump because they're trying to increase efficiency in government programs. Oh,
Need this care. Someone in every state has gotten care from this program. Obviously, it's New York centric because
yeah. But it's not about the victims. It's about how Schumer is playing this as an emotional fallacy in a political football. Oh.
give them the health care they need, deserve, and Congress has allocated the money for this. And it really gets me PO'd when they say this is not necessary. This is extra. This is not essential. It is essential. Ask the people here who know the program. It is all essential, these people. It is not waste. It's cursing. It's blasphemous to call this waste.
You know what's blasphemous, Schumer? You being Jewish and you put cheese on your hamburger.
Told not to show up. Everyone must be reinstated once and for all. We are missing at least 16. Second, we're glad Dr. Howard's back, but we want them to make a public statement. They have said it to Congressman Gabarino. Good. I'm glad. We want him to help us. But we want it stated publicly so they don't try it again. And third, we want the chaos to end. We want a commitment. No one else will be fired, told not to show up, laid off, or messed around with while they're trying to do their jobs of saving people's lives. So 3 things. 1, rehire everyone who was fired. 2, public statement that Howard's going to stick with the program. They're not messing around with him now and forevermore, as long as he's there. And 3, no more chaos, no more future firings. It took years to build the program. We had to work over and over again, starting in many of the people were here. When we had to finally get a commitment, we could only get it for 5 years because the late Congressman Coburn from Oklahoma didn't want to let it go forward. We then got it extended. We made it permanent. We put more money in each year. We have enough money. We don't have all the money yet we need. We're trying to get that. And we will get that. But we have enough money for the next several years. So the program is not short of money. It doesn't have excess per.
Victims of 9/11, the firefighters, the NYPD, even residents, they need their health care taken care of, for sure. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Get the ubiquinol. This is the most active form of CoQ10 that you can purchase. You can't get anything better. Most people that take CoQ10, you're getting the less active form. You want to get ubiquinol. So go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Get the ubiquinol. This is an antioxidant. It's going to soak up free radicals. It's going to help boost up your energy levels. It's going to help with the mitochondrial health, and it's going to protect your neurons. If you're 40 years of age or older in the United States, guess what? You need to take ubiquinol like right now. All right. You know why? Because ubiquinol is going to help protect your neurons, and ubiquinol is really important for cellular health. NAD plus is a supplement that's going to boost up your NAD plus levels. By boosting up your NAD plus levels, you're going to have more energy. You're going to be able to repair DNA damage. When you get older, you accumulate more DNA damage. You need to repair that. NAD plus helps with that repair. In addition, NAD plus helps to protect your neurons. So if you're 40 years of age or older, you need to start taking NAD plus. So stack these together. It's a great stack. It's dual purpose. You're soaking up free radicals. You're helping with the health of the mitochondria. You're boosting up energy levels. you're repairing DNA damage, and you're protecting your neurons. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, get the NAD Plus and the ubiquinol, take them together, protect your neurons. You know why? Because if you don't do that, you're going to get into your geriatric years and you're going to start shaking. You're going to start forgetting things. You're going to start not being able to balance your body. You're going to start having gait issues. So if you apply this holistic approach by making sure you detoxify your body, getting proper sleep, taking the supplements and stacking them the way that I'm telling you to stack them, doing the 4 modalities of exercise, resistance training, cardio, balancing exercises, and stretching exercises. Proper diet, making sure that you filter your water and you stay away from processed foods. Mindfulness or spirituality to bring your body into parasympathetic, learning new things is going to improve your overall health, slow down the aging process, reduce free radical buildup. You're going to improve your energy levels in your mitochondria, and you're going to be activating all these different organ systems, and they're going to perform better. That means your endocrine system is going to perform better. Your immune system is going to perform better, and you're going to slow down the aging process, including your brain. Your brain ages. It ages slightly different than your rest of your body, but it does age. And you need to protect those neurons and activate those neurons. That means you need to learn new things, talk to people, write. You want to read, write, and talk to people. Get that positive neuroplasticity and do those modalities that I was telling you about with exercise. And you're going to slow down that aging process. If you don't protect your neurons by activating them and having a better lifestyle and a holistic approach, and if you're not taking the proper supplementation to protect those neurons, you're going to have gait issues. You're going to have memory issues. You're going to start shaking at about 65, 68, 70 years old, start having problems with being able to control your heart rate. Take my advice or don't take my advice. It's up to you. But if you don't take my advice, I guarantee you, in your geriatric years or earlier, you're going to have problems. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. You spend more than $150 on an order, you will get a free gift until supplies last. I'm not going to tell you what the free gift is, but the point here is that if you follow my lead, slow down the aging process, and approach this health protocol holistically, you're going to heal your body, and you're going to build up the energy and get more runway for a longer life with vitality into your geriatric years. You don't do that, don't be surprised that shit hits the fan because you didn't listen. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Alrighty. Let's go to Times Radio about Putin here.
Snap your W-2 and file your taxes 100% free. Plus, get your biggest refund. File free now. Roughly 37% of
I think the real problem is that it's not what the Russians are doing now, it's what they may have done in past years and what may be lurking undetected on the seabed at great depths. It's quite easy to surveil the continental shelf around Britain, where it's only a couple of 100 meters deep. Once you go thousands of meters deep in the Atlantic, which is where a lot of the, as you mentioned, the data cables that go to America, who knows what's lurking down there, what the Russians may have planted.
This morning leads with Putin's secret war in UK waters. A 3-month investigation alongside the Royal Navy has uncovered Russian sensors trying to track nuclear submarines as part of a campaign of grey zone warfare. Harry York is the Sunday Times deputy political editor. He was on board the Navy vessels.
in the last few years, the British government and military have found a number of Russian sensors in the seas around Britain. Now, this quite astonishing discovery, we are withholding certain details about because of the level of sensitivity around it. But what I can tell you is that the belief is that these sensors were put there by Moscow to try and detect the movements of Britain's nuclear submarines, which together, there are 4 of them, and they're called the Vanguard class submarines, and they together provide our continuous at-sea deterrent.
But Harry York also tells us this wasn't the first such discovery.
Several years ago, the British military also uncovered and found what's known as unmanned underwater vehicles belonging to Russia. They're called UUVs for short. And they were found lurking next to deep sea cables. Now, these cables, unlike many of the cables that are laid on the seabed, like internet cables, these are not publicly known. So they're supposed to be quite secret. And they found them lurking next to them. And I was told by my sources that apparently it was beyond reasonable doubt that those UUVs were trying to tap into those cables. Now, I don't know for what reason, but it was obviously a huge concern to the government and the Ministry of Defence at the time.
Well, the Sunday Times has also revealed oligarch super yachts are being used for espionage, including before the war in Ukraine began. Harry York explained how he got access to the Royal Navy findings.
I was given unprecedented levels of access, basically, to what's known as the RFA Proteus, which is one of the most secretive vessels in the Royal Navy's fleet. The Proteus is basically the Navy's new deep-sea surveillance vessel. And whilst we have submarines, obviously, that are capable of protecting and looking at the deep seas and the critical national infrastructure we have on the deep sea, the Proteus is really the only surface vessel the Navy has with the capabilities to really look down deep and make sure that this kind of nefarious activity is not happening.
And Harry York finally explained that maritime espionage is a key part of Russian operations.
Russia is the only country in the world that possesses a specialist fleet of deep sea subs that are capable of perpetrating this espionage and what's known as seabed warfare. So whilst we have very good capabilities ourselves, and the Americans definitely have very good capabilities, there are some things that the Russians can do that we simply can't. And that they may have a slight technological advantage with us. If you look at NATO as a whole, on land and conventional capability and nuclear to an extent, Russia's outmanned and outgunned in a lot of circumstances. But in this particular field under the water, in the deep seas, that is where there is a concern that Russia actually may have the edge.
Well, that's Harry York, the Sunday Times deputy political editor. You can read more of that investigation in the Sunday Times today. Let's speak now to Edward.
Before we go there, go to the next guest. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the structural nanosilver gel. I have it in 2 different varieties here. One is in a tube form, one's in a dispenser, quick dispenser. Make sure you have some of this at work and at home. You never know when you need it. It's a dual purpose product. All right, you can use it as an aftershave. Guys, after you shave, put it on your face and it'll help to soothe your skin. Women, you shave your legs, put it on after you shave, and it's going to help to heal your skin. Now, you can use it as a daily skincare. Put it on your skin every day, and you'll notice that your skin is clearer and healthier. So use it as a topical. If you're not feeling well, or someone around you is not feeling well, guess what? Put it on your hands, around your ears, around your nose, lightly coat your nostrils, around your mouth, around your eyes, and you'll stay active for 5.5 hours. And you can't do that with Perel. Perel stays active for about less than 20 seconds. All right. And it's alcohol based and cracks your skin, doesn't heal your skin. So structural nanosilver gel is way better. In addition, you can stack this with collagen and vitamin C. When you do that, you're actually helping the health of your skin. Topically, you use the structural nanosilver gel. At the dermal layer, the collagen and the vitamin C with drinking filtered water will help to cross-link and help the health of the dermal layer. And taking C60 and resveratrol will help the basal layer where your new cells are generated. So it's a great way to improve all the different skin layers that you have. So please go to my store, get the structural nanosilver gel. It's a dual purpose product. You should have this available right away at your work or at home. You never know when you need it. Please go to my store and be prepared. It's a dual purpose product, very high quality. Get the structural nano silver gel on my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Like I said about the collagen, collagen is a dual purpose product also. Very high quality. You get a big scooper, take it every day, mix it with soft foods like I do. I mix it with hummus. You can mix it with yogurt or applesauce, something smooth, something soft. You can mix it with filtered water. Some people mix it with milk. Some people even put it in their coffee. And a smoothie is a great way, but take it every day. That's the key. Now it's a dual purpose. It's going to help with your skin, your hair, your nails. It's going to help with your musculature, your bones, and your joints and your cartilage. Take it every day. And by doing some resistance training, and stretching, you're gonna start to improve your bone structure and your joints. Okay? And your musculature. Take it every day. Now, again, you can stack this with vitamin C, the structural nano silver gel, drink with filtered water so it can cross-link to help with the dermal layer. It stacks well with C60 and resveratrol to help with the basal layer for your skin. So taking collagen is really important, all right? Take it every day. It's a very high quality product. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Shown on the screen is the typical amino acid profile that's in the powder here. Go to the store, take a look at the label if you need more time to read the label, and stack it. You spend more than $150. If you spend $150 or more on an order, you get a free gift until supplies last. But use discount 5 and you get $5 off. Discount, all caps, number 5, you get $5 off any order. And I have anti-aging boxes and longevity boxes that are designed at a discount compared to purchasing the products individually. So it behooves you to actually get the anti-aging and longevity boxes. And you can apply an additional discount of $5 by using discount 5 on top of the discount that you get built in with the anti-aging and the longevity boxes. So there's many ways to get these great products that I offer. I have a advanced skincare and beginners box. It's called the Longevity Skin Health Beginners box and advanced box. All right, 2 different boxes. In the beginners box, you get the collagen, the vitamin C, and the structural nano silver gel that helps with your skin. The advanced box gets everything. You get everything that the beginners box has, but you also help with the basal layer, and that's with the resveratrol and the C60. All right, because the C60 soaks up free radicals, and the resveratrol gets rid of cells that are in senescence. So it helps with the basal layer. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Get the collagen and the different boxes, the anti-aging boxes that I have. If you spend more than $50, if you spend $50 or more, I should say, you get a free gift until supplies last. Please go to my store and help support my work. Stack these things the way I'm telling you to stack them. Do these different modalities and holistic approaches, and you're going to get max benefits from this.
Who's a Times columnist, a Russia watcher, and a consultant on international security. Morning, Edward.
Good morning.
Are you surprised by these findings?
I think that we've known since the beginning of our nuclear submarine program that Russians are interested in tracking our nuclear submarines. And the lead on this story is the fascinating nugget that we found one of the sensors that the Russians have been dotting around our shores to try and catch the noise that these submarines make as they enter and leave the ports. Now, I'm not that surprised by that because we do exactly the same to the Russians who are interested in their nuclear submarines, where they're going and what they're doing. But I think that the report outlines the breadth of the threat on other aspects very well, and that is the threat to our cables and the pipelines that go on the seabed. And Here we have some interesting new details, including that they discovered one of these sort of underwater robots back in 2020, which was positioned on the seabed, presumably waiting to attack some infrastructure. And this confirms something we'd be very worried about, that Russia is preparing over a long period of time sabotage operations that could be activated in the event of a crisis. So we might be in a standoff with Russia in Ukraine or Estonia or wherever, and suddenly dozens, scores, even more of our crucial data pipelines, electricity connectors, gas pipelines, whatever, could all be cut by these robots that have been put there in advance. And that is very worrying.
And particularly as well, the cables that are used there for transferring banking data between Britain and the US. I'm just wondering, how easy is it then, if that is a credible threat, how easy is it for the Navy to protect those cables, to prevent that happening?
Well, it's very difficult, and this story showcases the Navy's new ship, the Proteus, which has been bought from Norway and converted in order to have some capabilities to deal with this. And I'm sure that we see fascinating pictures of the kit on the Proteus and stories about what they're up to. And I'm sure readers will be delighted to know the Navy's on the job, and the Navy will be delighted at the coverage. But I think the real problem is that it's not what the Russians are doing now, it's what they may have done in past years, and what may be lurking undetected on the seabed at great depths. It's quite easy to surveil the continental shelf around Britain, where it's only a couple of 100 meters deep. Once you go thousands of meters deep in the Atlantic, which is where a lot of the, as you mentioned, the data cables that go to America, who knows what's lurking down there, what the Russians may have planted.
What is Russia's strategy here? Is it just to annoy us and to inconvenience us, or is it more sinister than that?
Well, I think that it's make us feel that we're in no position to have a confrontation with Russia. And if you imagine that we have a force in Ukraine, as seems, we may well be sending some sort of intervention force there, and Russia attacks us and kills some British soldiers, and we then think we need to hit back and attack the missile launchers or whatever it is that have hurt our soldiers, at which point a dozen data cables all go dead at once. And the message comes from Russia: if you hit us, it won't be dozens, it'll be the lot. Now what are you going to do, Mr. Starmer, as they might call him, or Sir Keir, as we would say? And that it makes our ability to defend ourselves much less if we know that the Russians, in effect, have a knife to our throat in terms of these underwater cables. Now, I'm sure the Navy is working very hard on protecting them, and there are an awful lot of them, and so there's some redundancy, and we have our own deterrent. We could hit back against the Russians if they do things to us. But of course, we can't do this because Russia is not an island. We, as an island, are really dependent on our connection to the outside world. Russia is a colossal landmass with land borders to countries like China, so it doesn't have quite the same vulnerabilities.
I'm just wondering, therefore, when we're thinking about extra money being put into defence that Keir Starmer has promised, and a sense that is going to increase in the future, does the Navy have the kind of resources it needs right now to protect us from these kinds of threats?
Well, I'm sure the Navy would argue it needs even more resources, and the Air Force says the same, and so does the Army. And one of the ways they fight this out is by through their getting stories about in the media. So one has to see the bigger picture. But I think that the real problem is not so much what we spend in the future, but what we didn't spend in the past. And because we've neglected this scandalously for decades, anything we do now is going to be expensive and inconvenient and may not work. And so I think that it's probably too late, really, to give the sort of comprehensive protection to our subsea infrastructure that we need. We'll do what we can, but we probably have to work out other ways of deterring Russia from attacking us in the first place.
Gosh, thank you so much for your analysis there, Edward. I appreciate your time this morning. It's Edward Lucas. He is a Times columnist, he's a Russia watcher, and he's a consultant on international security.
But just remember, those liberals in the UK didn't want to do defense spending. And oh, by the way, based on the research that Ferguson did, his thesis is basically the British Empire failed because their interest payments on their bonds were greater than their actual defense spending. And then eventually they had to retreat from their empire. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the Myotrol. Myotrol is very important as a gene expression supplement to help with building muscle and maintaining muscle. It has flavonoids, lignans, and polyphenols to help with that gene expression to build muscle. Do resistance training, take Myotrol to help reduce the atrophy and to help with building up muscle. That's really important. Once you get to about 40 years of age, for males and females, you should be taking Myotrol every day and do some resistance training. This stacks really well with Gladiator Barley. Why? This helps with the gene expression. Gladiator Barley has the high density protein to build the muscle. That's, if you stack those together and do the resistance training, you get the max benefits. Now, you can take it separately, but again, stacking it with the Gladiator Barley will give you the max benefits. In addition, the lignans in here will help to reduce inflammation, which has a dual purpose. One, it's going to help with musculature, help you recover during your workout, but also help with your immune system and your endocrine system. So please go to my store and get the Myotrol. Another great product that I have is Clarity Factor. Clarity Factor gets rid of brain fog. It'll help you to concentrate at work or in school, or if you're retired, it'll help you to focus. And by taking Clarity Factor and learning new things and focusing and drinking filtered water, you're going to have this positive neuroplasticity. You're going to have more neural networks. You're going to have your neurons firing better. And when your neurons are firing better, you're strengthening those networks. If you're learning new things and you have the proper diet and exercise, you're adding growth factors for this positive neuroplasticity. Really important. All right. So take Clarity Factor every day to help with that, to support that memory, to get rid of that brain fog, and to improve that neuroplasticity. In addition, it's important to detoxify your body, get proper sleep. By getting proper sleep, you're going into REM cycle, and that helps you to consolidate memory, detoxify your central nervous system, and you'll be well rested. That's really important. Also, make sure you filter your water and stay away from processed foods. Get proper exercise. You want to do balancing, activate those neurons. You want to do stretching, that will activate different type of neurons. You want to do weight training, that will help to build musculature, but not just build musculature, you're activating a different type of neuron. And doing stretching is activating neurons that are at the end of your your muscles and by your tendons and your when that's activated, you're strengthening that connection. But also learn new things. Read, write, talk to people. And that's going to activate all these different neurons and all these different neural networks. Doing balancing exercises activates the cerebellum. And by you doing that, you're improving your overall health and your neurons. So it's a holistic approach, but it's also helping to support your memory. And immediately after taking Clarity Factor, you're going to notice that brain fog is going away. Make sure you drink it with filtered water. Take this every day. Very important. And another dual purpose product that I have is olive leaf extract. This is going to help with your immune system and your cardiovascular system. It brings down inflammation, so that brings down that inflammation at the vascular level. So you're reducing plaque formation. And when you're reducing inflammation systemically, you're helping your immune system. Olive leaf extract also helps bring down LDL levels and increase your HDL levels. That means that you're improving your total cholesterol and you're reducing the chances of LDL being oxidized. That means that you are reducing the chances of plaque formation. Very important. So get the olive leaf extract, take it every day, boost up that immune system and cardiovascular system. Take the Clarity Factor to help with supporting your memory and getting rid of brain fog and helping with that positive neuroplasticity, and Myotrol to build muscle. This is a great stack as an anti-aging and improve your overall health stack, where you're helping with your muscles, you're helping with your brain function, you're helping with your cardiovascular and your immune system. So it's a great stack. You spend $150 or more on any order, you will get a free gift until supplies last. Use discount 5, you get $5 off any order. And if you purchase an anti-aging or a longevity box, they have a built-in discount compared to purchasing those products individually. So there's many different ways to stack these things at different price points to get healthy. It's a holistic approach. My process works. Just follow my lead and you will get healthy. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, get the olive leaf extract, the Myotrol, the Clarity Factor, stack them together, and you're targeting your immune system, your cardiovascular system, your musculature, and your brain function. All right. All right, times are right. Well, all right, let's go to Cash Jordan. We haven't done something.
The future of your business is here. With Wix, you get advanced AI capabilities for more customization, more time, and more growth. Speed up your website copy with an AI text generator that delivers a consistent brand voice to every corner of your site.
Legal status for people who immigrated from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela under a 2022 federal program will end.
Right now, everyone is here. These are taxpayers. These are members of the community.
So President Trump just revoked the legal status of almost 500,000 people who could soon be deported if they don't pack their bags and leave the United States between now and the end of April. While activists claim these and all potential deportations are an immoral abuse of power, proponents say the federal program that allowed 500,000 people to enter America for a 2-year parole period was wrong to begin with. And it may have given temporary legal residence to dangerous gang members.
The New York Police Department saying members of the brutal Venezuelan gang Tren de Agua are taking over New York City's migrant shelters and using them as headquarters for their criminal operations.
Under the Trump administration, we have already witnessed a cruel crusade on immigrant families that has directly threatened the safety of our neighborhoods.
We were at the southern border when illegal crossings were starting to surge that same year, prompting the administration at the time to offer legal pathways to those from countries plagued with violence and political turmoil. But critics argue there was abuse of the program and little oversight.
It's a Biden-era program known as CHNV, which allowed immigrants to live in the U.S. through sponsorship by a U.S. citizen or permanent resident.
Sanctuary cities are safer with their laws than other cities. They just are.
Absolutely, they're operating within. We have intelligence that they're in some shelters, and they recruit in the shelters, but they also branch out to communities. The problem we're having with TDA is that the intelligence of who they are, it's a little slower because they're brand new to this country, let alone the city.
So the numbers vary, but the New York Post is reporting this new ruling will affect 532,000 people from 4 countries. But what nobody upset about any of this will admit is that this program was likely abused relentlessly by people who never should have been allowed into our country to begin with. Especially since 19,000 of the applicants for this special parole program had sponsors suspiciously located at the same 100 addresses, which sure makes it look like this program, which allowed Venezuelans, Haitians, Cubans, and Nicaraguans to fly directly to America, may have been co-opted on an industrial scale for reasons we don't even fully understand just yet. However, activists say this program was very important because the people who got protected status through it were apparently living in disaster-struck countries ravaged by crime and gang activity. However, critics point out that so many gang members have left places like Venezuela and come here that Venezuela's crime rate has dropped drastically, while the same cannot be said for America's inner cities. And that brings us to the real reason this whole thing has been canceled. The Trump administration believes this was an unlawful mass parole program designed to decrease physical traffic at the southern border during an election year, revealing that it wasn't so much a humanitarian program as it was a political tool designed to hide how unprotected and vulnerable America's borders were by allowing people to skip the long lines at checkpoints and fly directly into America instead. That way, when the news cameras filmed the southern border, they would show less activity chipping away at President Trump's signature campaign issue. And speaking of which, there are certain areas of the country like New York, which already have massive populations of illegal residents living openly in sanctuary jurisdictions. And as you're about to see, the leaders of cities like this hope anyone afraid of deportation comes here to hide from ICE.
All right, before we continue with Cash Jordan, just a reminder, we are live streaming on Rumble, on YouTube, doing a simulcast on X Spaces. Anyone that would like to ask a question or give me their opinion about the news, please ask for the mic and you can talk live on the show. This is supposed to be interactive. Thank you for joining.
So here we are at the Port Authority bus terminal, where every day people enter America's largest sanctuary city, some with the goal of hiding from the federal government. Because here in New York, one's immigration status matters not and does not bar one from seeking city services like free healthcare, food, and even a shelter bed in a former luxury hotel. And advocates hope those things encourage individuals in the country illegally to come here and make this their home.
Sanctuary laws protect undocumented migrants, the very people President Trump's administration is deporting.
Under the Trump administration, we have already witnessed a cruel crusade on immigrant families that has directly threatened the safety of our.
So in spite of the fact that dangerous individuals have reportedly come here and infiltrated our shelter systems with the goal of committing crime and growing their criminal gangs, our progressive leaders are totally against the idea of anyone who's a criminal being deported. And although that includes the 500,000 individuals who have just a few weeks to leave town, it also includes gang members and other individuals who may not have come here for the American dream. And for some reason at these rallies, everybody wants to get rid of ICE. They want unlimited protections for people who may be dangerous federal fugitives, even if those people put the immigrant communities the protesters claim they support in danger by their presence here. And we know this is happening because now at the bus terminals, we've got signs that say human trafficking can occur here, and they're written in both English and in Spanish. And the reason signs like this one are everywhere throughout entry points in New York, like this one right here, is because this gang, Trende Aragua, their goal is to look at the people around.
Are you a consultant, coach, or professional who wants to attract clients, secure speaking gigs, or grow your revenue? Since you've already built a wealth of knowledge, publishing a nonfiction book can.
Their goal is to look at the people around them and figure out how they can best be used to benefit their gang. They're human exploiters by nature. And you'll see their handiwork on the sidewalks of our middle-class neighborhoods, where women sell stolen items out of suitcases handed to them by men. And even though many Americans are happy when they hear stories about gang members being sent to places like El Salvador's mega prison, leaders in sanctuary cities certainly are not, which is why they are against the idea of people being told to leave this country, even if they might have come here under circumstances that were rife with fraud.
It's a Biden-era program known as CHIV, which allowed immigrants to live in the U.S. through sponsorship by a U.S. citizen or permanent resident. The program was created as a way to give immigrants at the U.S.-Mexico border safe entry into the U.S. without having to go through a smuggler.
So you heard it right there. This program, it only existed to move people across the border faster. And critics say this was not some humanitarian program born out of necessity.
These people are trying to get into this country because they believe that they'll have a better way of life, and it has nothing to do with getting away from, war-torn country or something like that. Most of these people really don't fit into the whole rubric of needing asylum. the war-torn Ukraine and those individuals trying to, get out, especially in the early days, that was, a humanitarian need. But what's going on with Venezuela? That's not a humanitarian need. What it is everyone wants to use the United States as a smorgasbord. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Get the resveratrol. This is a dual-purpose product. How? It gets rid of cells that are in senescence. That means that you're getting rid of cells that stop dividing, but they're just collecting garbage. Also, it's an antioxidant, so it's going to soak up free radicals. It's going to help boost up your mitochondria. You're going to have more ATP. And you're going to have youthful gene expression. So over time, you're actually going to slow down the aging process. Now, this stacks really well with C60. All right. To get the max benefits, you should stack this with something like C60, ubiquinol, and NAD+ or NAC. So please go to my store and get the resveratrol. Now, let's talk about the C60 here. Like I was saying, that this is the second pillar of the core protocol. C60 is a very potent antioxidant. It has to be in a lipid. It has to be in an oil for proper absorption. C60 is a 60 carbon molecule that is a buckyball, and it is a very strong molecule. It cannot be broken. You cannot break C60. All right. It looks like a soccer ball or a buckyball or a furlorine. All right. There are different terms for it. But what happens is that there are electrons floating around in an electron orbit and all around that molecule. And so it can neutralize free radicals. And it is hundreds of times, if not 1,000 times, more potent than one molecule of vitamin C. One molecule of vitamin C can only neutralize one free radical. That's it, and it's done. C60 can neutralize hundreds of free radicals, if not 1,000 free radicals. Just one molecule of C60, all right? It's very potent. Take a teaspoon a day, okay? Now you can get it in avocado oil, MCT coconut oil, or extra virgin olive oil. Now, it's important to take a teaspoon a day. And what's going to happen is you're going to soak up those free radicals, reduce the stress in the cell. You're going to improve the mitochondrial health. Your ATP is going to go up. So you have more energy in the cell, less stress. The cell is going to perform better. Your tissues are going to heal and have less stress. That means your organ systems and your endocrine system and your immune system is going to perform better. Your brain function will perform better because your mitochondrial health will be better in those neurons. Less stress in the neuron because there's less free radicals because you're soaking up the free radicals in the neuron. You're improving your ATP in the neuron. You're improving the mitochondria in the neuron. And the neurotransmitters are going to be created at a more frequent rate. And you're going to be able to shoot off those neurotransmitters to have more connection with neurons. So your neuroplasticity will improve. Your thinking will improve. Your memory, the cognition will improve. So C60 has a lot of different benefits for the system by just soaking up free radicals and boosting up those energy levels. So take a teaspoon a day every day. And what you'll notice over a year period is that your skins are improving, your endocrine system is improving, you have more energy, you have more vitality. And when you stack it with these other things that I've been telling you to, you supercharge the effects of the anti-aging. And you're going to have longevity. So take C60, a teaspoon a day, every day. Now, I used to wear glasses, farsighted with astigmatism. 2 months to 2.5 months into taking C60 and taking a teaspoon a day, I stopped wearing my glasses. My eyes improved. All right. I'm not the only one this has happened to. There's other things, that people have had problems with that they've reported that has improved since they've been taking C60. But the key here is that by soaking up those free radicals, improving the health of the mitochondria, and to reduce the stress on the cells, your overall tissues perform better. And if your body's performing better, guess what? You're actually going to have more vitality. So take C60 every day, and over a year period, you're going to notice that you have slowed down your aging process and your body is healing. But stack it with other things like resveratrol, like ubiquinol and NAD+ or NAC, right? This is in my cardiovascular stack. Why? Because by soaking up free radicals at the vascular level in your bloodstream, you're reducing oxidized LDL. If you reduce oxidized LDL, you're reducing plaque formation. See the benefits of C60? They're huge. C60 is a very potent supplement that you should be taking every day, for sure. No doubt about it. All right. I think I started taking C60 in 2016. So now look at me. All right. I'm doing pretty well. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Get the C60 either in extra virgin olive oil, avocado oil, MCT coconut oil. Take it on an empty stomach for best absorption. If you work out, take it before your workout so you're soaking up the free radicals during that workout, and you will notice that you're recovering quicker when you take C60 before your workout. Now, stack it with other things like I have, and I have C60 in many of the anti-aging boxes. So it's a great stack based on, you know, what system you want to target. Take it every day. It's the second pillar of the core protocol. What is that core protocol? The first pillar is taking max 35 or max 14 or cleanse every day, teaspoon a day. That's going to boost up your immune system. C60 is going to soak up free radicals as the second pillar. The third pillar, take ashwagandha, turmeric, and lignans. That's going to bring down inflammation and help with your immune system and your endocrine system. And taking Boomer Boost boosts up your energy levels and your metabolism. That's a great core to build off of to improve your health protocol. Now, it's holistic. It's proper supplementation with that stacking, but also proper diet, proper exercise, proper sleep, mindfulness, spirituality, calming down your central nervous system and going into parasympathetic. These are all beneficial. Learning new things, and you're going to notice that you have more vitality. Please go to my store, get the C60 and the resveratrol. It's a great stack, but you can stack it many different ways. This is a very important cornerstone for a health protocol. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. The link is in the description. If you spend $150 or more, you will get a free gift until supplies last.
No, instead, the only necessity was political. There was an unacceptably high level of traffic at the southern border, and something had to be done about it. But instead of closing the border, what happened was a smartphone app was rolled out that allowed people to go through the documentation process that would usually take place after one crossed the border, and then board a flight and fly directly to America. Now, did this program help at least one person? I'm sure that it did, but proponents of its cancellation say that the whole thing was full of fraud and that there was very little vetting done whatsoever. And apparently nobody running the program bothered to figure out why some 100 addresses were listed on 19,000 separate forms, or why many different applications were submitted using the same IP address. It sure looks like a whole bunch of what should have been separate, unrelated forms were all filled out by the same person or group of people. And because of this poor vetting, we may not even know who came into the country under this program. And now people in the program have been told to voluntarily leave the country on their own. And if they don't, they could be subject to deportation.
In fact, the administration is saying that the people affected by this policy change should sign up to self-register on a smartphone app provided by the government and tell people that they will be departing the country.
So as you can imagine, activists here in New York are very upset that anybody who's been allowed to enter America, even if the reasons that they were allowed in were wrong to begin with, could be asked to leave. However, New York City is already home to over 400,000 illegal residents. And what very well could happen is that as the April deadline for self-deportation approaches, people in a sanctuary city like this already just decide to stay. After all, that's something local activists are encouraging people to do. They're encouraging resistance. But even though advocates are very upset, President Trump is canceling this program and may order 500,000 people to leave the country, there is one major red flag embedded in this program that proves it was never about helping anyone unless they were running for office.
If in the first place you're giving people opportunity, it's unfair to take that back.
The people affected were given 2-year permits in 2022 and 2023 by the Biden administration to legally be here with financial sponsors. So this program that everybody's all upset is going away. It was never permanent to begin with. It was temporary. Now, had President Harris ended up being elected, this program very well may have been extended or made permanent in some fashion. However, its expiration date now makes it President Trump's problem as far as activists are concerned. Because as you just heard, there's a perceived level of unfairness to the idea that somebody would be invited here and then asked to leave, even if they knew that it was only a temporary arrangement to begin with, which is how protected status is supposed to work. It's not supposed to be permanent. It's supposed to only exist while the unsafe conditions in one's home country do exist. On top of that, had President Trump not won, the U.S. border would likely remain open, and keeping this direct flights program in place would have decreased physical traffic there, masking the fact that the immigration policies of the prior administration may have been making the entire border situation more volatile. But the whole debate over this program brings up a big question, because here we are in New York, which is a sanctuary city where local activists are encouraging people to resist ICE and hunker down here. And they're also demanding that the mayor, the police, and any city agency or official respect New York's sanctuary laws, even if they're not good laws, revealing that the next big immigration fight in this country won't be over a parole program that has been canceled and was only temporary to begin with. Instead, it'll be over the very existence of sanctuary cities themselves. So as the debate in this country has raged over immigration, you've got a very interesting dynamic. You've got these sanctuary cities that supposedly exist for the betterment of immigrant communities, yet protect criminals who prey upon those very communities, something that happens all the time here in New York, yet nobody in charge of this place wants to admit it. We've got gangs living in our shelter system, bringing weapons inside, recruiting new members, and we've got gang members robbing people on the side of the streets who are then traced back to hotels like the Roosevelt, which is one of the city's largest shelters. And when you consider that these criminals target immigrant communities first, sanctuary cities may be the worst place for newly arrived legal immigrants in this country.
We're going to end sanctuary cities for some of these jurisdictions that aren't cooperating with law enforcement.
President Trump says he's looking at an executive order that would eliminate sanctuaries. So the thing that most New Yorkers who are in favor of sanctuary city status don't want to admit or don't understand is that if you're in America legally, being in a sanctuary city is of absolutely zero benefit to you. For example, we often hear about how sanctuary cities are safer, as anyone can contact the police to report a crime regardless of their legal status. But if you're here legally, you can call the police to report a crime and you've got nothing to worry about. So that doesn't help you. And if you're here legally, you don't have to worry about getting an illegal job off the books to provide for yourself. You can get a job with a guaranteed minimum wage and receive benefits and protections like unemployment. And if your boss is unfair to you, you don't have to take it. You can leave and go get another job somewhere else. You're not a prisoner in an unfair employment situation. But here's the thing, if somebody's not supposed to be here, not only are they exploited, oftentimes by their employer, or targeted by gang members who threaten them with outsider status if they involve law enforcement or report their activities, it's the gang members and predatory employers who are the real beneficiaries of these sanctuary city protections. But this brings up a big question. How could local politicians here believe that sanctuary city laws make our city safer when we've got all of this evidence that they don't?
This is common sense.
Jamari Williams, the city's public advocate, says deportations are about dividing society, not about safety.
Sanctuary cities are safer with their laws than other cities. They just are.
So evidence of a problem isn't going to matter to somebody who's already decided in their mind that there is no problem. In spite of the human trafficking posters littering this bus station, warning everybody who gets off any bus at any gate that we've got a massive problem in our city. Perhaps our politicians just think those are there for show. Oh, they're just there to make the world a better place. There's not actually a human trafficking problem going on here. And that's why we've got the science to make sure that one never pops up. That's how they think. And gangs living in homeless shelters, well, those are just isolated incidents. They may not actually be gang members. That's what the criminals say. They claim they're all innocent. You literally have to be willing to suspend reality to believe some of this stuff. You've got to tell yourself that this is all fake news, and you literally have to consume exclusively misinformation for this to be your belief system.
So if they're operating within, we have intelligence that they're in some shelters, that they recruit in shelters, but they also branch out to communities. The problem we're having with TDA is that the intelligence of who they are, what they are, it's a little slower because they're brand new to this country.
So when the chief of police comes out and says something like this, are we supposed to believe that the entire police force of over 30,000 officers, that they're all a bunch of liars, that they're not giving us accurate information? Because that's essentially what these advocates are saying and maintaining. Yet some news outlets want us to believe that this is all just fear-mongering. That means that the people who work here must not take the bus and walk out these doors after they've had to walk past the trafficking signs that are right there on the other side of the exit. But what do you think about this? Is the New York Times right? Is this just a massive fear campaign? Is the entire New York City police force a bunch of liars? Are they out there making stuff up? And what do you think about the 500,000 people who soon may now be deported? Should they be allowed to stay forever? Or are people overreacting that the temporary program they were let into the country in is expiring sooner than anticipated? Let me know. I'll see you in the next video.
There are a lot of people that are pushing this agenda for bringing on illegal immigrants into New York and into these other safe haven cities in the United States because they have funding problems with their school system and they need more students, legal or illegal, to get the federal funding. And that's what it's all about. They're playing games for funding, and they don't care about the laws. They don't care about border security or anything like that. And that's why they're demonizing Trump. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Get the Boomer Boost. This has 68 nutrients. Take a look at the label on my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Very comprehensive. This targets multiple systems. It's going to help with your heart, your vascular system, your brain function, your musculature, your strength, boost up your energy levels and your metabolism. You're going to lose weight. You're going to notice the effects of this within 72 hours of starting to take this. This is very important to take every day. Take it for your lunch or for your breakfast. You get a big scooper. Take 1 scoop a day. This is a month's supply. Take it every day. And what you're going to notice is that you're losing weight. You're going to have a steady energy burn throughout the whole day. It's not going to spike. You're going to sleep better. You're going to consolidate memory better. You're going to have better heart function, vascular health. Your brain's going to perform better, and you're going to gain strength. All right? You're going to have more vitality. Within 72 hours of taking this, you're going to want to do more activity. Take this every day. This is cheaper. 1 container is cheaper than what you're spending for a month for breakfast or for lunch. All right? So take this every day for breakfast or for lunch, not both. All right? But for breakfast or for lunch. All right? Take it with soft foods like hummus, yogurt, applesauce, a smoothie. Some people mix it with milk, filtered water, but take it every day. All right? Now, it stacks really well with Gladiator barley or heirloom barley, but you can take the barley separately. All right, what's the differences between the heirloom barley and the Gladiator barley? Heirloom barley will help to detoxify your body, bring down inflammation, and also soak up free radicals with superoxide dismutase. Heirloom barley does not focus on the strength side of this. All right. It's very high quality, high density protein. Take a scooper, a half a scooper or a full scooper a day. All right. And take it the same way you would take the Boomer Boost. Now, the Gladiator barley, you get all the benefits from the heirloom barley: detox, soaking up free radicals with superoxide dismutase, bringing down inflammation. Bringing down inflammation is important for your immune system, but also for recovery if you're working out. And Gladiator barley will help you build muscle. It's high density protein. Take a scooper or a half a scooper a day. Take it the same way you take the Boomer Boost. Now, you can take it separately, but if you stack the barleys with the Boomer Boost, you get the max benefit. So if you want to build muscle, you want to get healthy, and you want to control your A1C levels to the max, that means that you're bringing down your blood glucose levels. Taking the Gladiator barley and the Boomer Boost is a great combo. Now, if you're not so concerned about gaining strength, but you want to detoxify your body and rev up your metabolism and help with those different systems that I talked about earlier, take the Boomer Boost and the heirloom barley together. The cost of these two containers is cheaper than how much you're spending for a month for your breakfast or for your lunch. So you're going to save money, you're going to lose weight, and you're going to get healthy. And you're going to get healthy quickly. All right? But quickly in a healthy way. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Take the Boomer Boost, the heirloom barley, and the Gladiator barley. But like I said, you stack them together and you get the max benefit. You can buy them separately. You can take them separately. You can also purchase one of my boxes called the Longevity Boost Box. The Longevity Boost Box has the Boomer Boost and your choice of Gladiator or heirloom barley. It has a built-in discount for the Longevity Boost Box. So it behooves you to actually purchase the Longevity Boost Box to save money. And you get the barley and you get the Boomer Boost. All right? Take it every day. You can apply discount 5 on top of that, and that's a great way to save money. I want these very high quality products in your hands. You use them, you're gonna get healthy. All right? It's very simple. Go to my store, purchase the products, use them the way I tell you to, and you are gonna get healthy. No doubt about it. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Use discount 5 on any order, you get $5 off. If you spend $150 or more, you get a free gift until supplies last. That's the end of my transmission. Thank you very much for watching on YouTube. I did have a slight problem with the audio earlier with Rumble. I apologize for that. Been having some problems with the app for the Rumble Studio for some reason. And just a reminder, I should be doing a show live with John Hogue tonight at 10 p.m. New York time, so Eastern time. We're going to be live streaming it on YouTube, doing a simulcast on X Spaces, so you can ask questions. The whole point of the show is for you to ask questions during the show, and John Hogue is going to answer your particular question. Sometimes it's about current events, sometimes it's about spirituality, sometimes it's about astrology, or his take on where the world's going. It's supposed to be a fun show, an interactive show, so please join. I might be doing a live stream also on Rumble, depending on if I can work out the problems with the app. So please join tonight, 10 p.m. New York time, live show with John Hogue, simulcast on X Spaces. Thank you for listening. Have a nice day.